All right, today's episode is brought to you by the Patreons. That's you, the listeners of this podcast. If it's within your means, jump on there and support. Let's get into it. All right, welcome to today's episode of the Australian Lawn and Garden Podcast. I've been looking forward to this one because this is a YouTuber. Well, I know you as a YouTuber, Vasili, even though you've done 50,000 other things as well. But a few years ago, I believe I was looking up how to prune. It was either an apple tree or a pear tree, or it was something like that. And one of your videos came out. This might be 3 or 4 years ago. And I was like, how cool is this? An Australian who knows what they're doing and he's posting stuff on YouTube. And
well, I like to think I do.
That was so rare.
Well, probably. G'day. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And an honor for you to be following me or, seeing some of my YouTube videos we've done. And I should ask you, before you go asking me questions, how is your pear and apple tree, by the way? Did it survive?
Well, it wasn't mine. It was for a client, and it did well. Okay. And I feel like I probably took about 7 or 8 times as long as you would have taken to prune it because I was very nervous. And it was a client I was doing all sorts of other things for, and then I was like, they needed this done, and I was like, I better do some good research. But I wanted to introduce you as somebody who, for those who are interested in us, just right off the gate, I know how many videos, but do you know how many videos you have on YouTube? It's insane.
No,
it's one. You have 1,000. You have 1,200 videos on YouTube of.
Oh, really?
all sorts of stuff. It's It's anything to do with fruit trees, vegetables, soil, all that sort of stuff. That's a lot. Well, I mean, you're shocked listening to it, right?
Well, I am. I don't think they're doing the numbers on how many times I've been filmed and broadcast, whether it's on YouTube or any other platform. But in saying that, I'm reflecting back on the TV world when I spent my time standing in front of a camera or, for the TV, whether it was 31 SBS or 7, I think we were close to 1,500 episodes there as well. So a combined total of about 3,000 would be a safe figure to say. That's crazy. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. So I'm just going to stop now. I'm not going to bother anymore. How many times can you repeat a topic? Come on.
Well, I was just thinking, I just wanted to introduce you as somebody who I've been going to well before any of this, just to get information from, because I've admitted this many times. I'm good on the lawns. I'm good at ornamental stuff, hedges, things like that. As soon as it gets into growable food, anything edible, I'm very clueless, and that's why I've been going to your stuff. And I've been getting older, and for multiple reasons, I'm just a lot more interested in that type of stuff. So I found myself watching a lot more of your content, and it's interesting because it's, you're not, in my opinion, at least, you're someone who seems to be, not only have you got a lot of experience, but you're adding to that knowledge and you're growing and you're changing the ways that you're doing things, and it's fresh stuff and you're challenging yourself, and that's what I love about it. So I just want to start by that, saying I genuinely am a fan of the stuff that you're doing, and I hope that people who are listening to this will jump on when they've got questions and look at your 1,200 videos. So thanks for that. What? Yeah, you go. What was coming into mind when I was saying that?
Well, what was coming into mind as far as talking about having some knowledge, and the knowledge is the people's knowledge, really. It's not my own. It's not as if I've invented the wheel or something, but I've just, I suppose I've taken the wheel and been a little bit rough on the edges. I tried to polish it up a bit and make it a bit more easier, free-flowing, and more understandable for the wider audience. What was coming into mind with that is that I'm dumbing it down for myself because it needs to be, and I'm taking the fear factor out of it and bringing it back to basics. I'm sure through this interview we'll share a lot of information and reasoning behind my methods of madness. That's what I call it. In the sense that, gardeners... there's a lot to share here, mate. It's all coming out, and I've got to
We got
reserve
all the
myself
time.
from
We've got
becoming.
all the
I
time.
know, but I got. You can appreciate I've spent half my life, more than half my life, interviewing people. So I've got to sort of try and hold myself back from asking you the questions, and trying to lead you the way. So bear with me if I try and stumble and fumble through my words, so
Don't
I
worry.
don't come across. It's all good, mate. Look, with my travels, I've learned so much, and what I've concluded is that we've been led down a path where gardening can be difficult, and it's not for everyone, and that's quite wrong. It's completely wrong. It's in fact, it's madness that the fact that we feel imposed, or that we can't garden, or we don't have the space, or we don't have the knowledge, or we have to buy 1,000,001 products, and the list goes on and on and on. And so what I've done is I'm trying to emulate every garden bed that I have in my garden beds, and I'm on 20 acres here. I'm trying to emulate what um, a typical home garden would do, whether it's a large or small patch of uh, garden that they have, whether they're growing flowers or ornamentals or vegetables. Just trialing different methods and different products, and even road testing a hell of a lot of products, the competitors, if I may say, and exposing the realities of what's really going on. Yeah, so there's ask me questions, man, and I'll be here to answer them.
So, why do you think
Go
you're talking about it becoming difficult and confusing, and something that only a diehard hobbyist would be able to do? But gardening is, I mean, technically, if you're growing weeds, like when we talked with Craig, if there's a
Yeah,
weed growing there, there's another plant that could actually just grow there naturally. And for those who
well,
don't know, Craig Castry, who we had on a few weeks ago, friends with
good mate of
Vasili, and
mine. Yep.
you guys share similar philosophies and just anyways. But like, you're right that we're growing weeds, we're growing some random shrubs all the time. Why couldn't
Yeah.
the average person? So what made it? Why do you think it became complicated for people?
Well, money. I'm going to put it straight to you, mate. Money, control it. If you can control it and dumb down the population to the level where they don't understand what they're doing, and they need to reach for this first fertilizer, insecticide, fungicide, and I'm referring to synthetic products and chemicals, that really eliminates. And I'm sure you've touched base with Craig, because he's a strong advocate for this, and uh, uh, he's done some amazing research, which is, and I should put it out there. He even though I've been practicing this, he's really just sort of pointed me towards the light and said, "Have a look at this. What's going on here?" And it was mind-boggling, with all the years that I've travelled. And I was seeing the basics of gardening, learning the basics of gardening from our elders. Many of them who've right on ahead, and we're going back in the big 1991, 92. Of filming, and I was visiting folks who was in their 70s then, telling me, "You don't know what you're talking about," and I'm making reference to a insecticide or a fertilizer, and they're telling me, "No, no, no, just manures and compost. What else?" The only thing that they do, that I've since realised that maybe we don't need to do and shouldn't be doing, is digging. So
Yeah,
they did the digging, but everything else they used was of a natural base or organic base, and that was working for them. So I've got that mindset or experience, and obviously I grew up in a vegetable garden with Dad having the biggest one in Coburg. Um, but as I grew up in the journey, in my journey to life, I went down the path of music, structural engineering, and all that. But I came back and I did a full circle back to gardening, and it was just a natural progression, and a gravitation towards it again, and opening up a garden centre. And this is the long form answer for your question. We got into the business mind of selling fertilizers and chemicals and insecticides. So if you
yeah,
go back 25, well, more than that, 35 years when I first opened it, we were what Bunnings is today. That's what we had then, a smorgasbord of poisons on the shelf, and be it all maybe the same poison in the bottle, but with 5 different brand names on them, all doing the same thing, destroying the environment and the life in the soil. And we were selling that and making money out of it. But, that was, being naive, thinking I'm a smart fella selling these chemicals and we can flog them off, and they work. Sure, they work in the short term. Long term, they don't. That's where the problem started, or for me, that is. It stems back years from that. I mean, this stuff's been going around, and that knowledge that I had already from the home visits that I did, and it grew bigger and stronger than ever as I travelled through the backyards, front yards, nature strips, be it all, even community gardens. That experience and knowledge that I was exposed to from our elders, as I call them, and I'm referring to our ancestries of gardeners who brought it down to Australia from whatever part of the world they came, that was still with me. And we had a light bulb moment and we got rid of all that. But what's happened on the other side of the coin is that the general population has progressed and moved along with the changes of environment, I suppose, and I'm not referring to Mother Nature itself, but lifestyle environment, the introduction of technology and what we're doing now, the podcasts, iPhones, all that has affected their ability to explore the outside world. And they look at it from a screen or a window or get someone else to do it. And when it comes to actually doing it themselves, it's a scary path to go down, and they don't know what they're doing. And as I was indoctrinated into using and selling chemicals back then 30 years ago, it's still happening today, unfortunately, and through organisations and companies and independent stores who are none the wiser still. They've been doing it for decades, and yet they still go down the same merry path. I mean, there's something in the back of everyone's mind thinking, it's not quite right. Why am I using a chemical? I mean, it is a poison, it's a toxin, it's this, it's that. But yet we don't know better. So that's what's brought me to where I am today. Plus, the personal family experiences of, the dreaded cancer, the C word. That's told me in my own head, the voice in my head said, that's enough, mate. Stop using that crap and clean up the act and share what I know and what I've experienced and let others learn from it. Be it all you take one little lesson from me, that's enough. That's planting the seed, as we say, and hopefully it grows for them.
So, people, you would have heard that we're talking about the liquid trial or liquid fertilizer trial that Vasili is doing at his property. It's really interesting conversations. I want to say something really quick from behind the scenes about the lawn shed. Now, when we have these conversations with people who are from different philosophies of gardening, different ideas when it comes to gardening, one of the favorite things and the best thing about our agreement with the lawn shed is that they do not care who we have on. And that is so important. This is not a business who monitors what we're trying to say and will try and get us to have certain guests on or off. And I think a big part of the reason of that is behind the scenes, there's a passion for all types of success with the business. I've talked with Ian. And if you're the type of person who wants to go down this path of less chemical input, more organic stuff, send an email, because there are some products. If there's enough interest, we might be able to make them into smaller batch sizes. At the moment, I believe that you can only get them in larger batch sizes, but they already do exist. There's two in mind. I'm not going to say what their names are on the podcast here, but if you have a chat with Ian from the Lawn Shed, he can hook you up with them. But again, thank you to the Lawn Shed. If you're the sort of person who is looking for those sorts of products that they sell, because there's a whole variety of them, jump on there. Let's get back into the podcast. Have you you probably haven't heard about this author, but there's an author called Seth Godin, who is a marketing guy. And I've listened to him a lot with business stuff, and I love his work.
Okay.
And one of the things he talked about from a business standpoint is that what he would call the TV industrial complex, to mimic the military industrial complex. Because what he says happened is when TV came out, and yes, this will relate to what you were saying in a minute, when TV came out in the 50s, all of a sudden there was this medium where there was only 2 or 3 channels. So the only there was a massive advertising opportunity, but the only advertisers that could work were people who had a product that could suit the masses. And what I think's happened is that with the products that in the gardening industry or anything industry have followed that, instead of them becoming niche and small market and solutions, lots and lots of little solutions for little problems. Well, if we just make one single product, let's say a bifenthrin. So bifenthrin, for those who don't know, is an insecticide which will kill just about everything, right? And you can just go, well, this kills just about everything. So we'll put it on the shelves. It's easy. It's cheap to produce. And then you get this culture of people just spraying it everywhere for the sake of controlling the stuff. because it's so much easier for an advertiser to put a simple message out to the masses than it is for you to
Yeah,
do what you're doing and say, okay,
yeah,
well, here's a complicated issue. And maybe in a very rare scenario with this specific type of insect that's doing this type of thing, you might need to do something that's involving some sort of chemical if you're absolutely desperate. But here are 7 other options that might, and it's complicated and it takes time and it takes 1,200 videos to explain that sort of stuff. It's much easier just to go, no, let's just, what's the simplest, dumbest solution that we can make money off and put it out to the masses? And I think the
yeah.
podcast stuff, the YouTube stuff, because you don't need, you've got 20 or so thousand subscribers on YouTube, right?
Mm, mm,
No TV show is going to be like, oh, fantastic, this is going to be the biggest hit. Yet you have 20, like what you do, I'm saying, but you have
yeah.
20,000 dedicated people who are like, yeah, I'll check in every now and then. They're learning and stuff like that. Because what I'm saying is 20,000 people for a TV show, they're not making money, right? But
No, no.
the small person can go and put this advice on the internet and actually genuinely
Mhm.
help people. So I think this is why all this stuff is getting out now. I don't know. Does that feel right to you?
Yeah, 100% it is, and I'm going to add to that for you. The precursor to that is that once upon a time, somebody had some great chemicals that they wanted to flog off and take control, and all right. Let me break this down even simpler. It's the method of um, choice of words here, Vasili. I'm going to be blunt. It's going to be straight out to you, mate. There's no cutting out or editing this out. It's basically controlling the population, dumbing us down to the point where we're clueless into looking after ourselves, whether it's from the ground up or to the bathroom or the kitchen or whatever, or even our own bodily health. We are clueless. We are reliant on, and we've been brainwashed to that. So the art of marketing is the art of repetition, and you brainwash people like that. And I said it to myself when I first got into television. Well, I'm going to use the same mediums and the same vehicles that they are using, but to do it in reverse cycle, basically. Bring it back. And me, little old me with no money in the pocket, how am I going to do that? Well, I stumbled and fumbled, and here we are, almost 3 decades later, still doing what we're doing. Um, so the precursor is control. We want a money grab. We want to control them all. And how do we do that? Simplify it and create a level of convenience. Now, whether it is in the gardening world, whether it is growing your own or flowering plants or cooking or whatever it is, it all stems back down to convenience. And that's the pitch that they give us. It's easy, simple to do. Throw it in there, do this, do that, spin it around, and voila, we'll just spray it on. And before you realize it's all gone. What we don't see, we don't get. And what we don't see is the damage it's causing down to the microscopic level. And I'm talking about the actual living organisms of the soil of the earth. And that's something that we are waking up a little bit late on, but it's still reversible as far as the damage that's concerned and caused. So who are these that are doing it? Well, little bright sparks who, came up with the idea, as you said, that this is a one-stop product that you can flog off. But why does it have to be a chemical? Is the question. Why? Because I don't sell chemicals. We've put a range out of our own, organically based, certified, and properly tested, and we expose our flaws and wins and losses in our trials. So we're honest about it, as honest as I can be, to my knowledge, and the team that I have around me with them, team of experts who are passionate just like I am about it, and they have the science behind it, and I have just a big fat head that stands in front of the camera and puts his name across it and takes a risk on it. But I'm trialing that in here. So if I fail, I fail, because you know what I'm sick of? This reality TV world where even the gardening shows are turned into crap. And I hear about it. My colleagues who speak on radio say, I was watching the weekend gardening show. The bloody shit's so scripted heavily. I mean, I've seen at times where they're almost mimicking what I used to do on TV, and I don't care. That's fine. Knock yourselves out. But don't make it seem so simple to the point where people will fail. You're setting them up for failure. You've got to set them up to understand what is failure and what is a progressive move towards the better. And when you set up these pristine gardens with those backyard makeovers and all that stuff as well, you don't see the nuts and the bolts and nuts and the frustrations that actually do occur and the losses. So me growing for all my life, I've killed plants, and in fact, I've sown 400 tomato seeds, and they've all turned their toes up on me, and I haven't showed it yet, and I haven't worked out what the problem is. So, I mean, that's a segment for people who have been dying to get my variety of tomato, heirloom variety. I've got a friend who's joined on board and sort of voicing it for us. She's grown 700 of them, and every single one's taken perfect. This is my first year ever in my life. Whether it's a bad batch of seed that I had or whether the soil was contaminated, I don't know. Whether it's mites, I'm actually going through the method of elimination. So my point here is that we may know a lot, not everything, a lot. We learn a lot, we practice, and we in a sense, say like Craig Casery, we practice what we love doing, and we share what we love doing, and we talk about these are the basics elements of what you need to do to get to where you are. But don't think for any moment that you're going to succeed every time. You can have a plant side by side in the same garden bed, and one will kill over, the other one will thrive. They're living organisms. They don't all have the same genetic makeup to the T. Twins always have problems sometimes. Touch wood, they don't. But as humans do, so do plants. So the the reason why people lost their way is because they're first generation their parents who came here, whether they're from the 40s, 50s, 60s, or whatever decade, practiced it. And then when the 70s and 80s babies and 60s were born and the technology came in, they were born in that environment of gardening and, mum and dad working and dad slaving in the garden and all this stuff. They said, stuff this. I'm not going to do this. It's too easy. The supermarket's got it cheap enough, let alone that it's got nothing nutritionally rich in it or valuable for you. That's irrelevant because we're controlled by our eyes and then our ears and eyes. So, you hear something, you pricks your ear up. If you get a nice melodic structure and you start putting in the dynamics into it, well, you capture their attention. You can say the same phrase in 10 different ways and you can lose people, you can win people, you can make people angry, all in the tone. And then you have the visual aspect and you talk about the perfect environment and you think, look at this and how easy it is. It's just on the shelf. So those marketing strategies are fantastic if you can simplify it down for people enough, whether it's a product or a fertilizer or food. Behind closed doors, the crap that goes on in the industry, it will blow your brains away. I mean, I've been out there firsthand experiencing all this. This is what happens. I start talking, I don't stop. So if you're
don't
okay
worry
with
about
that,
it. I watched enough of your videos. I knew what we were getting into. I said the same with Craig when he came, and I was like, I started the podcast. I say you're like a freight train. Once you get on the idea, it's like we're gonna need like literally the Hulk himself to step in the way. But no, I see where you're coming from because here's I've got to be like a bit open and transparent about how I feel, so that
say it. I want to hear
the
it.
audience I grew up in the same sort of culture you're talking about, right? Where
Yeah.
you watch the TV show or whatever, and they say use this product. So you try the product and you don't know any better. I've also, for those most people know listening to this, we're based out in WA, and WA it's sand, right? Like we don't really have sections that do, but most of what we're doing is just growing into sand. And the results of that is that if you've already put something in the ground, right? And I was saying this to actually somebody on the phone the other day, where I was saying how I wanted to do a wetting agent trial, right? And actually, sort of similar to your trials that you do, and so we can talk about them in a minute when we move on to that part of the podcast. But I was talking about it, and I said, I was going to put it in some bricky sand, and they were like, "That's really harsh, like bricky sand." Like, and I was like, "Oh, don't you?" Over here, like our houses are built on bricky sand, and they just plonk plants in the bricky sand. They just plonk the lawn on top of it, right? And they might chuck down some pelletized fertilizer and go, oh yeah, we put some soil improver down. Like, well, okay, all right. And then a lot of my job over the last 10 years of running a business has been to take plants in those scenarios and to perk them up and to get results. And the best way that
So
I
what do you
found,
do?
we fertilize. And so here's this challenge that we've getting because we've been learning this over time is it seems to be like there's this challenge that you have with all sorts of angles of there's so many different options, and there's all this marketing
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I'm interested to learn, because I would say from a food perspective, right? I'm really in the camp of why, if you're going to redo a garden bed and plant your own food in there, I have no
Mm.
idea why you would do anything but what you and Craig are doing, like just
Mm.
compost, organic
Exactly,
stuff.
mate. Oh God, I mean,
From
you
a
got to understand.
professional, I'm just saying, from a professional perspective, I'm going to do some trials this year. I've already started them, but it's difficult to go, how the hell do you improve the soil condition? For example, let's say with a lawn, when the lawn's already in. Like I can't rip out this lawn and redo it. There's no budget for that.
Well,
And there's this balance with that I've got to work out. But I'm very curious to explore all this sort of stuff, because, like you said, we all grew up in this, and I'm still a believer in. I'm definitely a believer in the results, and I feel like the type of thing that we're doing in terms of the scale of it, it's not really the same sort of. Like when we talk about fertilizing and monocrop agriculture, the thousands and thousands of hectares, that's a different story too, because I believe there's a difference between, say, like 100 square meter lawn in someone's front yard and hectares of food that we're eating. That's a different story. But I'm interested in this balance between being as like that results driven thing and just looking for a visual result, or I guess a bricks rating or a health rating or a. Do you see what I'm coming at here?
yeah, look, see, with the monoculture world, farmers were led to believe, because once upon a time, farmers never grew just one variety. They grew for themselves in the little village, and they had a bit of everything going on. That was a fact.
Yep.
And the farmlands just grew bigger and bigger because the big boys said, we need this much out of you, and we want that out of you, and we're going to give you these fertilizers to make it work. Only grow that variety. Believe you me, the farmers are simple folk. They don't look for big, elaborate situations, and they've been put down the path, or led down the path where they've got to use nothing but chemicals because they've just destroyed what the growing medium's in. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
okay, a couple of things. You're worried about lawns. It doesn't have to be difficult. It shouldn't be difficult. For example, the farmers, if they walk away from their paddocks, let's say tomorrow at any given stage, and they never turn their back on them, never turn back towards them again, just turn their back away from them and let the farmland to do what it wants, the grounds and the paddocks. What do you think will happen in that paddock? Do you think it'll just turn to dust?
Oh, the
Do
way,
you think
yeah,
it'll just disappear?
well, in
I mean, that farmland.
if there's no rain, but if there's
Well,
if there's
let's
rain,
just say, let's say there's rain, all right? It has a cycle of rain up and down and all that, but nature has a very,
it will
very
grow.
simple way
Yeah.
of fixing itself. It will take over. The wildlife will come back in there. They'll take over. It'll flourish like never before. Then you come along with the tractors and just rip it all up and destroy the life. And I'm
Mm.
sure you've gone through that with Craig as far as what happens to the microbial count in the soil. So leave nature alone; it repairs itself. If we eat well, we repair ourselves. We don't eat well, we're not going to repair ourselves. So follow the chain, follow the money, for example. So farmland's being destroyed, and I'm sure you've heard this little phrase: if the land's destroyed, the animals are destroyed. If the animals are destroyed, we're destroyed. And I'm talking in the health sense. So if your soil's not healthy, your produce is poor, nutritionally poor, low density, low vibration food. The animals suffer; they have problems with health and all things like that. So we pump them with more pills. Same company who makes those fertilizers makes
Yep.
the solution, or the pill to fix it in an injection. So you got the killing off and then the remedy. It's the typical scenario of when we've realized we're doing it, we can do it with antivirus software. Wow, we got a virus in the system and we got an antivirus. I haven't uploaded an antivirus thing into my computer for the last 5 years. It's running fine. You just got to be, you got to be vigilant as far as what comes in. But put that aside. The land, the gardening doesn't have to be difficult. They make it simple, but they point you towards a product that's going to destroy and make you become reliant on the repetitive use. You could grow in that clay soil or the brick sand that you're saying that you've got there. And if you're using a synthetic fertilizer, which is soluble, the plants will take it up. The soil medium or the clay medium there is purely a foundation basis to keep the plant upright and sturdy. It'll take no nutritional benefit out of it, providing you constantly liquid feed it or provide it with a soluble fertilizer that's easily taken up. So in the short term, you've got a great solution. Long term, probably not. And every microclimate will vary. So it doesn't mean the same effect will happen in every backyard because you've got residing trees, walls, shadows, and directional approach. So people can still have a very simple approach to gardening, except that you'll have 80% wins. Let's not say 100%, and let's not take it any lower than 80 because 80 is a decent number. 75 is a comfortable one.
Yep.
75 wins and 25 losses, providing you work towards cleaning up the act. And the act is of being enforced, almost you could say enforced because of marketing, flooding of the marketing of the same, use this. And we're in winter now. It's every channel or every station I switch over to, I'm hearing it. And you've got to do your due diligence on the products and the companies that are actually selling these products because, what they were 30 years ago, the companies, and maybe they were producing a nice, clean product. They may be not doing it so much as now because they've grown, exponentially to the point where they can't get enough organic source or natural sources and they can't manufacture or process it quick enough. The olive oil, that's, how is that made?
Yep.
Do you know how it's made? Cold press. You read about it, extra virgin cold press. Well, you can speed up that process by heating it up in the pressing process. Yes, but what
Yeah.
does that do? It kills off kills off a lot of good nutritional values in the oil. So it could almost become rancid, but they start blending it. So to speed up processes, the element of heat and pressure is applied, and obviously a chemical induction if you need to. So that reduces the quality of the product. And I'm not saying that this is what companies are doing out there, but I'm saying have your eyes and ears open, do your research, do some, studies on it, understand who the company is. Like me, I'm an open book. Sometimes people say to me, you share too much, but why not? I've got nothing to hide. And if I've made a mistake, I'll be claiming it. So, how do you tackle your lawn and it's already down? Well, top dress it. Top dress it. If you watch your local councils, I'm sure in the open parklands and sports ovals, comes close to springtime, they're top dressing it if they're doing the right thing with a compost, a fine grade compost, spreading it over finely and raking it through. Continue doing that on a monthly basis on a fine layer. Then, if it's not a big area, 100 square meters, is it? Make a liquid fertilizer. Make your own from home. You don't have to buy one, and water that in. The microbial count will boost slowly. It'll start to populate on its own, as long as you don't affect it and disconnect it from the plant life. That's the key message here. We're disconnected from nature, and we've disconnected our plant life and our wildlife from nature as well. It's a sad case, but I know a lot of people are waking up.
So when when was it that you started realizing? Because you said there was a moment where you took all the chemicals out of your business,
Off the shelf, yeah. Yeah,
and
yeah.
you've
When
got
my wife
this
ended up in hospital.
right. Okay,
She
so
ended up
tell
in
me,
hospital for a
when
year.
was this,
Yeah.
and tell me this story.
She's 20. This is 21 years ago. So what's that? 2003, 2002 or 2001 maybe.
Yep.
Lisa, my wife, we've got 4 kids, adult kids. They all work partly in the business and on the business and around the business. They've got their own lives as well. But Lisa was working with me at the garden centre. We opened the store, 9, 10 years ago, 10 years prior to that, more. 91, yeah, 10 years. And so for me, my journey was I didn't like what I was doing, engineering, and I was in band session music. I was doing all that, loving it. But it was the nightlife, and I was given the ultimatum. And Lisa has since said she regrets the day she told me to quit music or make a decision between music and the family because I was away from home for 3 nights a week,
Hmm.
and we had two kids, and we ended up having four under 5 or 4 under 6 years. So they were babies, and we were working pretty hard, 7 days a week around the clock. The 4 kids. We had some financial hurdles we were challenged with back then, and which Lisa didn't share. She bottled them up, so that led, bad thoughts, bad energy, bad vibes, feeling
Yep.
shit. Pretty much, you basically toxify, and your brain starts releasing all these neurotoxins that can knock you out, which is what happened to her. She was diagnosed with leukemia. It took him 6 months to diagnose it. Now, mind you, leading up to that, she is still a elite fitness instructor. So not just your common jump up and down, run of the mill gym
Yep.
junkie who likes to think they're fit. This woman's fit, super fit, and that's what kept her alive. The doctors rang me up when they found out that she was, after 5 or 6 doctors, mind you, they all sent her home. Listen to this. This is how well paid our practitioners are who sign an oath to take care of our health, and because they've fed this crap information that the pills are to benefit the person, there may be some side effects. They're pumping the pills because they get the kickbacks. Prove me wrong. So all of them, bar one, at the end said, "Look, you're working too hard. Have a glass of wine. Take a couple of these chill pills. Happy pills. You'll go home and you'll be fine. Stop working so hard and don't stress." And it wasn't working. She was sleeping, falling asleep in the afternoon. This lady doesn't stop, right? And all of a sudden she's crashing out while we got visitors at home, and can't get up in the morning, feeling a bit weak, throwing up. She had morning sickness. We thought, well, you can't be pregnant again. And it wasn't that. And at the end, after 5, 6 doctors, finally one of them turned around and said, and my silliness for not even saying to her, get your bloods checked. She had her bloods checked one afternoon. The next morning, I get a phone call and they're asking for her. Back then, they'd ring you up. They said, "Where's Lisa?" I said, "Well, she's not here. She's jumping up and down in the gym. Get her out of the gym. Call the ambulance. Get her to the hospital immediately." I go, "What's going on?"
Mm-hmm.
Allowed to swear?
I don't care. Yep, do whatever you want.
Okay. I've got a leash here, mate. What the hell's going on? And they said, "Look, your wife's got leukemia. We don't know how she's still alive. She's running on 10% of her own blood. The rest of it's water, pretty much immature blood."
Whoa.
Yeah, she was the walking dead. Got her to hospital. They pumped, I don't know, 3, 4 liters of blood into her. She came to life. She goes, "Wow." Because over 6 months, you don't realize how slowly you're depleting and deteriorating. And she had the blood transfusion, but when they did a biopsy on her and they came back and they pulled me up and they said, "You might want to get the priest in." "What are you talking about?" They said, "We're going to give a 5% chance of survival. Best chance scenario is 10." I said, "What do you mean?" When we found out she had leukemia, we were both relieved. I mean, I picked her up. I was
Because
shocked at the
you had an
initial.
answer. Is that
Yeah,
because
we
you
had
just
an
had an
answer. So we
answer?
thought, no,
Yeah.
we know how to fight this. What are we fighting? We didn't know what was going on. So we
Yep.
had an
Yep.
answer. So, there is a place for the medical world and all that stuff, yeah, but there's got to be some ethical practices involved here and conscience, clear conscience of approach. It's a balance between the two. I'm not saying that chemicals are, the evil of all worlds, but it can't just be, fluently thrown around there liberally
Yep.
just because it's the best thing, and you can start mixing glyphosate with your bare hands with water in a big container like my uncle used to do. He used to pour the glyphosate in the 200-liter barrel, and I'd be pouring the glyphosate, and he'd be using with his hands and just mixing it through like this. He didn't last long. And if you saw the state of his fingers after a couple of years of doing that, he was a nightmare. He looked like he had claws. So we found out she had leukemia. We're driving into the city, and a good friend of ours, who we sort of, well, we didn't lose them in the sense that we didn't want to talk to them. It's because Lisa wasn't well. We stopped socialising so much, and we had the 4 kids. She was at the traffic lights in Lonsdale Street somewhere. We're heading towards Royal Melbourne. Um, That's right, because I picked her up. And we head there. I was just trying to remember the events. And we saw her there. Her name's Sia. And we're at the lights, open the window. "Hey, you going, Sia? Great." And Lisa leans over. She goes, "Guess what?" She goes, "What?" "I've got leukemia." And bye. We just drove off. And it
Oh
was
my
a bombshell.
goodness.
So the poor lady was
Oh
sitting there
no.
fucking gobsmacked. She couldn't even ring us up to say, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Yeah, like that seems like
Uh,
that's a bad practical joke or something. Like, you're trying to
Yeah,
make,
it was
I don't
like a
know, like
really
that's,
bad joke, but it was because we had this huge smile on our fucking face,
oh
and I'm
my
like, "What?"
goodness.
But I mean, we come to realise what was happening, and I mean, what we said to her. But that was only a couple of days later because it was a shell shock for us. We only started realising what was going on. We settled down after 2 or 3 days when we got into the hospital, and they laid the cards down. They said, "You've got acute myeloid one, fast. It wasn't chronic, but it was aggressive." Um, And Dr. Grit said to her, "Well, we're going to hit you with chemo and all this stuff." And, to us back then, this is all new technology, all new language.
Yeah.
So, and back then we had the internet, and the internet, it was the old dial up, and it would always
Yep.
drop out.
21
It'd
years
take me
ago.
half an hour to dial in. Oh, God, it was a nightmare, but I spent as much as I could with the little information available. on the web to find what was going on, and I concluded that they're basically going to spray her or treat her with Roundup, glyphosate, knock off her marrow, kill it off, and then they're going to repopulate it. And in the meantime, what we're going to do is keep the gut bio active. So that was our first experience, a light bulb moment where we said, "Oh, what the hell!" And so we pumped all the goodness from our garden into Lisa every day. I stood by her side every day. My parents, her parents, helped us raise the kids for the first year. That year she was locked up in hospital in
How old were
ICU.
your
Mind you,
kids
she
at the
was
time?
6 and under, man.
Yeah, mate.
There was
Gee.
one was 1.5, 5, 6, something like that. Yeah, they were 18 months apart. So the youngest was 1.5. To add up from there, so it was about 6 or 7 of the eldest. So
Yeah.
they didn't know what was going on. So yeah, they had their first early years, well, 1 year in particular, with our grandparents, and my mum and dad took over the garden centre because I walked away from it. I walked away from landscaping. I was in SBS TV. My producer or cameraman back then said to me, "Mate, he goes, you can't just walk away from everything. You're setting yourself up for failure completely." And so that's the only thing I did. I did the series. Oh, mate, that's another story. I mean, I've got the elites there in the SBS world telling me we need your show. And I just told them to fuck off. They were trying to buy me, and I said, "It's not for sale." You know, they threw $1 million at me for 10 episodes. We walked away with 10% of that, and we produced the whole thing for them. And then they came back and said, "You're a rock star, but you failed in the last 2 episodes." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" He goes, "Oh, your ratings dropped, dismally at the last." I said, "That was thank God you're here, premiered on Channel 10, and we had no budget for advertising. They pissed up all the money, so they didn't advertise us. We did our own voice on 3AW radio, and we hit 300,000 views back then, and we were told we're in for a lifetime. And then they came back and said, "No, you failed, but we'll do a deal with you. We'll give you this much if you do 5 episodes." And it's just fuck off. I walked away because and that was a bad experience for the television world for me. But that opened my eyes, and Lisa, a year later, she was uh, in remission. She had it. Her brother was a bone marrow transplant donor, perfect. They tested one person, that was him, and I always said that if anyone's going to be a match, it will be her brother. Mind you, through the journey, her dad passed away from the stress of it all. He
Gee.
had a heart
That's a
attack, and
heavy season.
he was in the hospital next to her. I don't remember what. She was in the Royal Women's. I don't know, one of those two. So it's one of those history things where I've sort of tried to block out, but most of it's sort of locked up and filed away in the archives of my head. Um, so she was given 6 hours release to go to the funeral. That was it, and then back into hospital for another 3 months thereon. So she comes out, and the doctor said to her, "Well, you can't be around chemicals." And that was like, "Yep, no problems with that, mate. We got rid of all of them. We didn't step foot in the garden centre for 5 years. Mum and Dad looked after it. I try to manage it from behind the scenes for them and look after Lisa because it was a roller coaster ride. It's just
Yeah.
constantly going in for checkups, and um, she was bald as a baby's bum there too. So it was fun polishing her head, but. Yeah, she's got she's got early onset of arthritis coming on now, and things like that, and all the chemical bombardment is really starting to, she's still fighting fit, strong, but there's wear and tear there, and but by comparison to people who've never had any, illness like that of that degree, there are people far worse than who've had nothing, and it's purely because of the intake of the shit food they have, the lifestyle. So her excuse is that she got hit by this dreaded cancer, and partly because of her mindset that back then she bottled it all up. And I can tell you now, she doesn't bottle anything up now, mate.
You hear
I'll
all
get a
about it.
hiding at 6:30. Oh, mate, I hear it at 6 in the morning. I got one this morning. She rang me up. She's in Melbourne teaching, and she's rung me up. She goes, I thought, God, sweet, I just woke up. I don't want to hear this. And she unleashes. She goes, "I'm not having a go." He goes, "Yeah, no, far from it." Like I said to you, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's the tone you use, and not even and the words can be exactly the same. So that was the light bulb moment for us where we didn't know how the chemicals were affecting us. We didn't delve into the life of the inner life of our body, and the bacterial count that we have, the microbial count that we have, that we walk around with the worms and all that stuff. Out of sight, out of mind. We haven't done a self biopsy on ourselves, but along the journey, we've met like-minded people and others who are far, far much more intelligent than I, who've shared their knowledge, all little bits. We grab little bits here and there, and there are people who don't even study who are just naturally that way. You know, who naturally organic. I mean, that's a very, very loose word now. I mean, it's been bastardized and abused. What pisses me off is that companies manufacture use the word organic, and only on the basis because there's some levels of organic product or medium in there,
Sure. Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's organic.
Well,
It's
let's
like
talk
tomato
about this
sauce.
sort of stuff because
Yeah,
I've found so. Well, before we actually move on to that, I'm just looking at you telling me these stories, and for those who are listening, you won't be able to see this, but Vasili's got, I don't know, 20 photos behind you or more of just all your family. The
yeah,
entire
man,
wall
that's
is
family.
covered in
Yeah,
picture frames of
yeah. It's all
family
family. We
and
had one drop off. Where is it? Just up
yeah,
there.
there
I'll get my
up
hand.
there.
Yeah, so that little gap there, and there's another gap up there. We just haven't found the right picture frame. So we're a little bit
I'll
meticulous in that way. But yeah,
I'll send
that's
you
us.
one of your
That's the whole
dogs. All
family.
right, I'll take a screenshot of one of your YouTube videos and put your dogs up there.
They've got their own portraits up there, mate, already. So we've got
They've got their own wall, do
a
they?
small. They have got their own wall. If I can point you, there's one.
I can see a
That's
little.
you can see that's a picture there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, go
So
on.
I'm hearing
Sorry,
this
mate.
story of your. That's a rough season. Six kids under six. Yeah, their
Yeah,
mum's
yeah.
got
It was
cancer.
a hard gig.
Granddad
It's not
passed
bullshit, man.
away.
I mean, I pity people, and look, I won't say pity because that's just looking down on them. I feel sorry. It hurts me to hear people who experience this, and if they're not a strong-minded person, they give up. I mean, another part of the story is that I met, we were in the leukemia ward, cancer ward, and I was there every day. And I met, Lisa had her own room, as others did this as well, with similar issues. I mean, they all had a different form of leukemia. Others had non-Hodgkin's and things like that. And I met their partners who were by their side as well. Lisa was also involved. It's all coming back to me. She was old in music therapy. I'm a person about vibration. I've always naturally I feel vibration. I sense people's vibration. I mean, people sense it. I mean, you're a smart fella, mate. You walk into a room and you know there's a bad egg in there. You'll sense it straight away. So, I'm conscious about that, no matter where I am and what's going on. And some people are pretty good in controlling that, and some people are good in not controlling their vibrational, energy.
Yeah.
But my point there is that she was in music, in a musical therapy with 6 others or 5 others, I think it was. Um, I'm sure if not all but one and two, including Lisa, that is, have passed away, because they're all survivors of cancer, and they did the course at the music therapy um, healing, and they did a concert, and there was hundreds, if not thousands, there to the concert. It was their life story. They shared it, and that was another element that really helped her along the journey. But there was something else I was going to say, but it's left my mind. But it'll come back to me. Um, go on.
Well, let's talk about we were going to go down the path of organic products, and
Yeah,
because
yeah.
there is this marketing, and because there would be a lot
That's
of
where I was going. Yeah,
there's a lot of these products that are I would say,
fake,
yeah,
fake.
what's well, not even just like
It's
fake.
perception.
It's like they're the same. That you got to be respectful of every brand, but
Bullshit.
that they're taking the
Bullshit, mate. I'm sorry, mate. I'm going to cut you off. I visit these places and they bullshit in front of me, and then they turn the cameras off and tell me the truth. Then they say we
I
can't say that on camera. Oh,
I haven't
fuck
experienced
off! And
that
I walk
myself.
out. Oh,
Uh,
mate.
well,
Only because
tell me
I
about
really
that.
understand.
Tell me about what were they lying to you about? Because what I was going to say is that what these brands do is that they take, let's say, I mean, I don't know any off the top of my head. I'm not trying to hold back any information that I know of, but I am aware
I
that,
did it.
for example, let's say a sea salt or a seaweed product might come from
Okay.
exactly the same place, and then they just put a different label on it or something like that, or they some a little bit more concentrate, a little bit less. put out to the masses and be like, ours is better.
Seasol once upon a time would sing the praises and raise the flag of their kelp, and then I know them very well. Beautiful family, by the way. Lisa and Graham Smith, who was a general manager. I was at their farewell party because they sold their company to
Yep.
Yates. So
Yep.
Yates has bought them out. Yates Dulux, paint company, chemical company.
Yep.
So, they've right on ahead. And the only reason they've done that is because they couldn't water it down anymore. And that's my take on it. So that's my two bobs worth of, opinion as how it's working. And that's how I'm going to put it out there because I don't want a lawsuit yet. Not ready for it. But at the end of the day, the companies, and let's not, well, CISO, I don't think their product is from the same place anymore because they, at one stage, I remember they had to source their seaweed from all over the world. And the seaweed now, it's not from the northwest rugged coast of Tasmania or King Island, whatever they call that area, but rather it's been imported, and the kelp is very vastly different from one place to another, one ocean to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And the pH level readings on it and all the microbial, bacterial counts on it is different as well. So there was a lot of things that they didn't foresee when they started doing it, and they started having issues with their seaweed solution. But ironing that part out, they got that fixed up. I realised something's going on when 5-6 years ago I released my seaweed solution, and I was taken into a private room with CSOL, and they said, if you ever release a seaweed solution, we'll have you headhunted. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. Why are you so paranoid? But anyway, I've since realised what's going on. Now, our seaweed solution, when we get it made, and mind you, I met the guy who invented the seaweed solution. It was one of 3 partners, I think it was, involved when it came up to the seaweed solution. Um, anyway, this fella's still making it, and I was introduced to him from a fellow colleague who's right up there in the world too, and he said, check out this product. You need to get your head around this. And had a look at it, and he showed me the product, and I'm looking at it. He goes, what do you reckon? I said, it looks like weak tea or weak piece, like,
Yeah.
no, it's not. There's no glugginess. There's no smell to it. There's no nothing. It doesn't stain. He goes, yeah. He goes, you know what it is? I said, no, because it was in a clear bottle. He goes, it's seaweed solution. I go, you're kidding me. How
Right.
did you get that? He goes, well, that's the natural format. That's the natural process of seaweed. What you go through the cold press, low temperature. Unlike the other products, which are high temperature pressure, and then there's all these fillers and colorings and flavorings and aromas added to them. I said, oh,
Yep.
so you're telling me the other brands have got all these extras in it? They go, yeah. I said, oh, really? So you're not pulling your leg. So I did a bit of research, and they gave me they're science based, these guys, and they've tested every product, and in fact they supply some of these other brands, big brand companies, with their product, the raw material, and these big companies, I'm not going to mention them, but they take it down, they water it down, they add their 2 bobs worth to it, and populate it from 1,000 litres to 10,000 litres, and there you go. And so it contains some
Yep.
elements of seaweed in it, but how much of it can vary. I mean, it's not 100%. That's my take on it. So, um, an example you asked about how growers and manufacturers do this. Well, I'll give you a grower's example. We're in an orchard, um,
Yep.
at an orchardist place. He had his apple trees ripening season. We were filming for SBS, and I'm up on the step ladder picking apples off the tree in the season of it. Mind you, we were there because they practice, natural remedies and lures and traps and that
Sure.
rather
Yep.
than chemical
Yep.
sprays. So we picked an apple, got it off the tree. I went to take a bite out of the camera, and I'm like, hey, have a look at this apple, beautiful, straight, fresh from the tree, because the nutrition's there. Because if you store it, it goes to
Yeah. Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yep.
grow your own apples. Anyway, as I was about to take a bite out of it, he's telling me in the background, you hear him call out in a loud voice, "Stop! Stop for what? Don't eat the apple." What do you mean, don't
What?
eat the apple? He goes, "We just sprayed him."
Oh
Fucking hell. So
no.
we turn the cameras off. Hey, what do you mean you sprayed it? He goes, we just sprayed it because we're about to harvest it. We've got to spray them and have a systemic insecticide put into it so they don't rot in a fungicide and all
Yeah.
the crap. And then we'll put it in cold storage and blah, blah, blah. And Bob's your uncle. I said, well, you just told me you've got fucking lures and traps and you do all the natural sprays. He goes, that's for the cameras.
Oh
I said, that's for
no.
my fucking camera, you arsehole. That's my fucking name on the TV show, not yours.
Yeah.
So needless to say, never made it to air. And I stand by my words on this, right? And apple is one of the few apples. Apple is one of the few fruits, if only fruit. I'm still trying to work out another fruit that has a similar shape to it, where it's got a little well where the stem comes out of. So, and
Mhm.
it hangs from the tree. So when you're spraying a tree, aerial spray, whatever sort of spray you do, where's that all that excess liquid? Because it's got to be sprayed to the point of runoff, drip. It's going to fall into the apple. So the apple sits there and it's dripping inside there, and it holds its chemical. It's got nowhere to go. It's going to either evaporate slowly, but more than likely soak into the apple through the skin layer, and it's a systemic insecticide or fungicide. So it's within the apple. So you can take it home and polish your ass out of it, right? And all you're going to get is just less apple to eat or less chemical. But the chemicals in it, you can't wash it, you can't peel it. That makes no difference with any
Mm.
of your produce you eat. You can polish the ass out of any of them. They're all chemically induced and sprayed or whatever. It's in them. So and we can't avoid that now. I mean, we can reverse it, but it's going to take decades. But that's one example, and there's many like that. And when we left that farm, the father of the grower or the family came outside to wish us farewell, and we were polite. We didn't do any other problems.
Yeah, yeah.
We didn't start a fight with them. I wanted to start a fight and put it on camera and end up on current affairs. But the,
Be good for the publicity of the show. Do a bit of.
oh yeah, would have got. Oh, yeah, I would have been here now. I'll be part of the elite team, mate, and walking on. Anyway, you wouldn't even hear about me, and I'll be selling shit on cameras and all that. Well, not. I won't be selling shit. I'll be selling chemicals because I actually do sell shit, but that's the good stuff.
Yeah,
He
literally.
gave us a bag of apples. Literally shit. Yeah, he gave me a bag of apples to take home. This was a stinking hot day, so we took the. The irony of it is, I looked at him. I didn't want to say anything to the father, but Peter, my cameraman back then, didn't give two shits. He goes, "Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah,
What you can't see can't hurt, whatever." So the thing is, we took those apples home, and by the time we got home from the farm, which is an hour and a bit drive in a stinking hot car, and I don't think we had cooling on, those apples rotted, had started to decay already because they went from 0 degrees, whatever temperature the cool room is at, to 38 degrees in the car, 40 plus, windows open, hot air blowing in. Those apples weren't even worth feeding to the cows if you had cows. So
yeah,
that's just one example. I mean, there's the shit like that goes on everywhere. You know, I don't know how we've become compulsive liars and believers of our own bullshit, but that's what's happening. We're blatantly lying, kidding ourselves because it's a play of words, because there is some element of organic, and an apple's a natural thing. It's an organic product. It's a fruit. It's a living organism. I mean, off a tree, that is. But the shit that goes into it that's bombarded with is not. But we don't talk about that part. We only talk about the 3% that's organic. The rest of it, we don't know. Out of sight, out of mind, you can't see that. And that's the game they're playing. So your produce on the supermarket shelf, lettuce has to be harvested the same day and eaten within a few hours.
yeah,
I dare say that lettuce in the supermarket shelf is, and I'm sure Craig's told you all this, and the list goes on. So the nutritional density, and I think this is, I can't remember if Craig came up with it or I came up with it. Either way, we're both on the same path of this, and our fruit and veggies should be measured by the nutritional density, not its weight. And you watch how they all start changing their song and tune, mate. As soon as
yeah,
you turn around and say, "What's the nutritional density of my apple that I'm eating out of this supermarket?" and it's zero, and I'm not paying for it because there's nothing in it, because my nutritionist told me to eat apples every day to keep the doctor away, but in fact they're sending me back to the quack because I'm going backwards. So why? Why are you paying for something that's going to harm me only because you want to make a buck out of it and you're not telling us the truth? Where are the ingredients that goes into the chemicals and the product stuff that you put into these plants? Because on the package you've got packaging rights and consumer rights as far as the produce that you buy in a container or a box, the ingredients, the chemicals, the numbers, the additives, the colorings. Well, fruit and veggies are copying the same thing. They're just not written on a box, and they can't put them on the fruit. They need to have placards up and telling you this fruit was grown in such a place, used with carbaryl, whatever other bullshit chemical that's been applied to it, and it's grown in DAP and MAT, whatever those toxic fertilizers are, and urea nitrate. I mean, I'm talking to a guy at the moment currently who's got 5,000 acres of cattle, right? And they grow spuds as well.
Yep.
Their inputs, this is something that I've been researching with Craig as well, and he shared the information, and I'm seeing it firsthand now. This farmer's come to me and said to me, mate, my inputs, what I'm referring to in inputs is fertilizers and
Yep.
chemical
Yeah.
usage, has gone from 150 grand to 450,000 thereabouts inputs per annum.
Gee.
So from 150 grand in buying this shit chemical and fertilizers, he's now had to increase it because he had the guys come out there, these so-called experts who work for these companies, telling him that you need to increase your inputs so you can get a better result at the end. But he's not getting the results. His outputs have dropped, and they're still dropping. So his margins have diminished by 50%. And he's not none the wiser and actually worse off than where he was. And he's come to me and he's going, well, how are we going to fix this? I said, well, you stop buying that shit. Put your 450 grand back in the bank or invest it in something else. And there already you'll have saved yourself a shitload of money. Just doing that is a saving, $500,000 saving. Think about it. Try and fathom this, right? And it's monoculture. So then you're going to do a multi-species farm, and Craig's gone through it with you, I'm sure. Then I'm not going to go into the details, but these are people who are experiencing this firsthand, and he's come to me to talk about it. And he goes, "You're going to help me." So, mate, I'm just going to tell you straight out: lock up the roller door to that chemical garage you have, or throw all the shit out of there. Start top dressing it with your compost and sow it over the top. Keep your cattle off the one pasture for a while. Let it start populating. Then we can rotate it all. And your cows will be sitting on the ground, or your bulls will be sitting on the ground and just laying in the sun because they're really fully full and all the goodness in it. So this shit is a bloody mess.
I want to talk
I'm going to say it
about.
straight.
I don't know. I'm loving this. I love that you're. I feel like you're a lot more honest at the moment because this is what podcasts are great for. Is like we don't like. This is what I was telling you about before.
Look,
we don't need to reach
I
a
can't
billion
scare.
people.
This is your podcast, right? On
I'm
my
not
one,
worried. Don't
sorry.
worry.
When I did my post, I can't scare the living daylights out of people. Although they like me talking like this, I can't do it every day because we film every day. And if I wake up every day going, "You lost your minds. Stop supporting Cecil," and all that shit, they'll cut me down. I won't be here.
Cecil
I
won't be
mean,
very
I
happy
haven't got
with
my
you
home
either.
yet.
Well,
Sorry?
so and then the brands won't be very happy with you, and someone's going to get.
I really
Look,
don't care anymore, mate. I'm not here to make them rich. They're already
I can
rich.
tell if you
I'm here to
didn't
make
care,
everyone.
you wouldn't be saying it. But what I'm really interested in from if we take a few steps back, so you got these brands that are making. You're saying that you got the sea sole. I say sea sole, and I mean all seaweed brands, sort of thing. You know, like
Okay,
the
just say
name's
seaweed
synonymous.
brands. Yeah.
You got
Which
these
I'm doing
seaweed
it.
brands that are getting it from the same supplier, and then they water it down, or they change something about it. They put their own little things into it, and then the marketing is XYZ is going to do ABC and all that sort of stuff. You're doing right now a trial for those who are completely unaware. You haven't finished it, so I was, when I asked you a couple of weeks ago, I was secretly hoping you would have finished it. But it takes time.
The liquid trial. I
The
finished.
liquid trial.
Well, yeah. Okay. So I've done 2 trials. I'm doing. This is going to be ongoing. I'm going to be even my
Yeah, I love it.
products. I'm going to scrutinize the last of them. If they fail, they fail. I'm going to go back to my guys who created the products for me. We work together on it and say, hey, what did I do wrong? What did you do wrong? Have we got this wrong? And the same with the other products, because sometimes it may not be the product, it may be the environment or the plant or whatever, but more times than not, it is the product.
Well,
So far,
let me
my ones have done well.
sorry, let me set the scene for those who are completely unaware. Is you've done a trial with potting mixers that's
Yeah.
finished, and what you did is you bought how many was it? 8 potting mixers, or it was somewhere around there.
14.
Oh wow,
14.
yeah. Well, there's a lot of potting mixes, and you've gone through and you've grown several different varieties of plants straight into the potting mix, nothing else. And then you measured the Brix rating, and for those who are not aware, Brix rating is a simple way to measure the nutritional density of the food, essentially, and it's something you've done on site. And so, obviously, it was something that you're eating. That's essentially what you're trying to get is healthy food. So a Brix rating is a good indicator of that. Now, you've done that trial, but what I'm also really fascinated about this liquid one, because I wonder what you were pouring the seaweed solution on, and you didn't go as heavy as you just did then on the brands and stuff. But you look at the color of your one. I think you said something you started to allude to what you're going to say, and then you stopped because you were like, why are these colors
In the
different?
moment, yeah, in the moment. Don't worry, it'll come out. Don't worry. There's no doubt about that. I'm just making sure that Sea Souls received their funds when they sold the business before I say anything. So um, the
But I love that
reality is,
with with the
go on.
trials though, is I haven't seen anybody else do this in
No,
especially with Australian products, because you might get some people over in America, but we don't
yeah,
usually get those products. And
they're too complacent.
let's start with the soil or the potting mix trial and talk about your results from there.
Experiences and my results. Okay, so this trial
I'll
was
get up
done
your
once.
spreadsheet as you're talking so I can refer to
Okay,
that. But
remind me. Yeah,
you tell me
thanks.
the story about it, and I'll be googling stuff in the
You just
background
go
while you're
through the
telling.
numbers. Okay, go for it. So I was listening on radio, 3AW. The boys were talking there. James was on there, um, talking about a guy by the name of Tim in New South Wales. Has got a garden centre. He's got his Tim's Best potting mix or something like that.
Yep.
Anyway, he did a post on it that he did a trial with 3 or 4 brands or product bags, and his one next to it, and all the others failed miserably, and his one was just like the best out of all of it, and rightly so. If it is, it is. But it sparked my curiosity, and I'm thinking, okay, like everybody else, and what more than likely many did with me, but I put it out there before I started to do it. I announced that I'm going to do a trial because I'm curious on how Tim's results came to be that his one grew, nothing else grew, and they all died, treated the same
Yeah.
way. So I started mine. I went into Bunnings. Yep, that's where I got them from. I didn't go to the garden centres. I left the independents alone for now. And some people were yelling. I said, look, I'm just 13, 14 bags are enough to start with. So we
Yeah.
started with those 14 bags, and I lay them down, and I said, this is how I'm going to conduct my trial. And I put it out to my followers and viewers and whoever else switched onto it to give me their 2 bobs worth of advice on how they think it'll work and which is what I should look out for. So it was a collaborative move towards the trial with the support of the viewers because they're all keen. Nobody else is going to go and buy 13 bags just to grow something in and see if it dies or grows. So I said, all right, let's do it. So what should I look out for? And, things were coming back to me as, the bags, the colours of the bags are going to reflect different heat and hold different heat. I said, well, if anything, my bag, because we've got our own planting mix, is in a clear bag. It's got a disadvantage there because the sun is going to just, cause
Go
it to
straight through.
get algae, go through it,
Yep.
and the algae will start to grow, it'll go green and things like that. So I'm at a disadvantage, from the starting blocks. I said, but
Yep.
yeah, all right, let's. So we try to do a fact check, science check on it, and said, okay, well, let's get a thermometer out and soil thermometer or compost thermometer. We shoved it in each bag, and mate, I spent hours on this every day, and we tested each bag at different times of the day to see what the soil temperature was, and they were all within a couple of degrees of each other at the end of the day. So it wasn't a dramatic difference from a black bag to a white bag or a clear bag. They were all pretty much the same temperature, so that was eliminated. And then I had others going to me saying, "Oh, dare you use a potting mix for natives and one I'm using for rose and
Oh,
camellias? They're not
mate.
built for that. They've got a different NPK. Go shove it up your ass, if I like saying, because this is the whole point of it. We're working on NPK. You've all been brainwashed into three nutrients, three minerals or elements, whatever you want to call them. And that's not what the world is revolving around. Garden doesn't revolve around NPK. It's not just that. It shouldn't be that. We've been brainwashed to think the NPK, nitrogen, phosphate, and blah, blah.
Yep.
I said, well, I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to pick on those ones. I'll leave them alone because rightly so. You said so. I said, all right, I'll be kind to them. I'll leave them alone for now. We'll see how they go. Well, at the end of it, the effing native mix grew the fastest, the biggest and healthiest looking out of them all. And that was it. So that's what happened with that. So that really eliminated that fear that they're not going to grow. They did grow. But the point here is it's not how fast they grow. It's not a race. And we all think we've all just been built and conditioned to think it's a race. It's easy, quick and easy, fast and effective, you know, convenient. It's no effort at all, just a dribble here and very little time taken to do it. That's all how we function. We want it here now straight away. We want it done. We want it. Why isn't a tomato on a supermarket shelf? I want it now. It's middle of June and I want a tomato or a cucumber. They don't grow in that time of the year. But because we've been conditioned that way, we expect it all the time. And that's the elements of nature in the human that I experienced through the beginning of this journey on that potty mix. And look, I have no issues, debating anything. You can go hard. If I'm wrong, I'll put my hand up and I'll apologise. But if I'm right, I'm not going to abuse you, but I'm not going to let you just talk shit either. So we've had to fact check it all, and the end result was we had miserable results with the top range of the Scots potty mix. It was crap. Literally, there was just nothing but crap in it. It wasn't even composted yet. It looked like it was just freshly off the ribbon mixer where they blend it all and straight into a bag before it's even decomposed properly or activated. So that was crap. And then we had all the other ones, the Garden Basics, which is basically crap. $3.95 a bag. You can't buy a bag. You can't bag it for $3.95, let alone sell it at a retail price. So I mean, my bags cost me more than $5 each to make. And then there's a transport part of it, and we sell it for $14.95, discounted to $12.95, for example. We're making $1 on the bag. At the end of the day, $1.50, but that's not big bucks, big margins. But we've got to sell, 500,000, which we're not. But that's okay. So that stuff is what happened. Rich Grow went well, I think, from memory. So
well, I'm
we ended up
struggling to
saying,
find the results, but what
it's okay. I remember them. They're all shit besides my one. That's pretty much it.
But people can see
what?
there's a video called Potty Mix Trial Final Analysis, and you go through everything. It's
Yep.
about 15 minutes long. So people go watch that if you want the full
Yeah.
breakdown. There was a spreadsheet you
Yeah.
posted somewhere, but
It
I
should be
can't do
there.
two things at once.
Yeah,
So.
I'm the same, mate. I can only do one thing. So
yeah, breathing and talking. Okay, that's all I got.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm going red in the face, mate. So the potty mix trial result was that our bricks levels was quite high by comparison to the others, be it all that we harvested prematurely, because we also had the element of destruction by my sheep that entered the veggie garden and just
This is
literally almost ate everything down to the ground. So here I'm testing my plants. Some of my plants have got eaten. Pretty much most of my plants in my bag got eaten. All the others were barely touched.
That's what I
that
found
tells you something.
fascinating. Exactly. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I would love you to
Yeah.
revisit this and try it again because
Yeah.
like just if you want to be scientific, which is the word, like you like what you're saying, people come back and they'll be like, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? Okay, cool. But let's just use it as an anecdote. It's really interesting that the sheep somehow decided to eat yours. And it was like, okay, they might know something that we don't know. Maybe they can sense the ones that are the tastiest or whatever.
We've lost all our senses of smell, mate. I tell you, we have. Do not eat from a supermarket. I can't eat from any I even struggle with restaurants because I know the same shit comes from the same place. So, the 80-20 rule, and that's something that most people are sharing now. 80% good, 20% crap. So the results were good. Check out the video. I'm doing the same trial, but this time because the part of it was the bag. The other bag's not good. You shouldn't do it in the bag. Do it in pots. Okay, we'll do it in pots. We're doing a liquid feed trial now. We're using cocoa pith, which is a really difficult medium to grow in if you're not liquid feeding them with a chemical, which is going to work wonders for the stuff that I'm using because I've got 15 different brands out there that I'm trialing out, plus mine. Yeah, and when I drove around garden centres all over the place trying to find this shit and hardware stores, whatever. So we're doing that in cocoa pith, but we're also about to conduct the same trial with marigolds and lettuce in pots, but using the Garden Basics crap potty mix. So it's not a cocoa pith, but a potty mix, which we also cracked open every bag at the end of the trial for those who want to know. And we took a handful of each. We took a seedling out of each bag to see what the roots were looking like. If we had any forgot the word for it now. This is Craig's department, all these scientific words. But anyway, to see how good and healthy the roots were. If there was aggregation.
Because I'll just say this for those who don't know, that when the roots are healthy, the soil should stick to the roots.
Thick.
And
they hang off it like little balls.
Yeah, and people will notice as they're pulling out weeds, sometimes you pull out a weed and the roots are clean, and sometimes you pull out the weed and it's just absolutely caked all over it. When it's caked all over it, it's a sign of a healthier soil. And so
exactly right. So
Yeah, I've watched
Yeah,
the
we
video,
did that.
mate.
We had a look at it. Yeah, yeah. You saw that, and you saw me sort of sifting through with my bad eyes and glasses on through the bags to see what shit was in them. And, all of them, Karen, well, pretty much all of them had a slow release fertilizer. There
Well,
was a
if you
white one in
just
there as
pause
well.
there for a second. Just a little thought on the
Right.
side rabbit
Got a
trail
cat's
is
food there.
how many
Yeah,
times do you? Oh, the cat's there for those watching the video. But I find it funny, Vasili, how many times you do a video and you go, I haven't got my glasses with me, and you're trying to look at something.
yeah, yeah.
At what point are you going to learn just to take your glasses with you? I think
You
I was
don't have
watching
any
some of
bloody
this.
glasses. I, mate, I walk from one spot to the other and go, where the fuck did I leave my glasses now? And I've got glasses everywhere on the property, in the house, in the office, in the warehouses. So I just pick up a pair, but sometimes, I don't know, I just put them down. Like now, I just had them. Here they are. They're here. So, yeah,
You need one. You need
yeah,
one glass in every single garden bed you're in. Because the other day you
pretty
did a
much.
video where you were like, "What's the?" He's like, you're walking around and you notice something on your tree, and you can see it's something on your tree. So you go up closer and you're like, "I think this is hairy aphid or woolly
Aphids.
aphid."
Yeah, woolly aphids. I can't see.
And then this video talking about here, you're like looking through the potty mix and you can see these fertilizers. And obviously your eyesight is not so rubbish. You actually do know what's going on there. You can see it. I just find it so
I've got to play
funny
up a little bit, mate. I just,
how
yeah,
often
yeah. I
you
mean,
put
it's
out
become a bit of a tag now. It's a bit
you
of a
forget your
tag. I
things,
mean,
yeah.
when it comes down to the minuscule grain, I mean, that's hard to see for any naked eye, but, I've got to play up a bit, and people like to take the piss out of me, and I'm all for it, mate. We've
Yeah.
got to do things with a smile. I mean, we're going down the rabbit hole, like you said, rabbit hole, but we've got to be smiling as we go down the journey because we're confident, we're positive, and we're looking for the truthfulness in everything that's going on. So those bags of potty mix that they sell there, mate, I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. And some people said, yeah, the garden base is shit, but I sit there blending it with compost and manures. And I go, well, that defeats the purpose. The purpose here is to buy a bag and you use it as it is. If you have to
Mm.
start blending it, then just buy a good shit and just be done with it. Get it right or make your own. Start composting. We are the laziest things. I don't want to insult. This cat's going to annoy the shit out of me now. We
He's
are.
walking right in front of the camera for those listening.
Oh, he does. He does. He'll sit right in front of the laptop and just expect to be pat. Here he comes again. No, you're not coming back, mate. All right. Here we are.
We've
We
got a
wrestle.
second guest on the podcast, which is now is your
His
cat
name's
named after
Adrian.
Adrian? I was expecting it to be some Star Wars character, considering your dogs
Oh,
are all
yeah,
Star Wars
Vader,
characters.
Leia. No,
Here
the
we have
girls have named
Yoda,
the
the
cats.
cat, and Mando, our pet
He looks a lot.
goldfish.
There's a little bit of Yoda in him, isn't there? Hey,
That's a little bit.
he's
Yeah, you
good.
just need to
He,
get some hair dye out and make him green.
yeah, that's it. He's well, he's great because he hunts rabbits. He feeds himself. We hardly
What?
feed him.
The dog or the cat?
Both. Oh well, the dogs we feed because they're big beasts, but the
The
cat
cat
mainly eats
hunts
rabbits. He catches
rabbits.
rabbits.
What?
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
never heard of that before.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's on a farm here. We got rabbits and baby rabbits everywhere, so he's all over them. He'll eat a rabbit a night, guaranteed, and we'll always find guts in the morning or something left over. Sometimes he brings it in as a gift, and he devours it on the kitchen floor. Yeah, so
Well,
for anybody who thinks I live in a mansion with a pristine floor and all that, far from it. The only thing that are missing in here are the sheep. So
he lives
we're
in a
very
mansion
earthy.
without a pristine floor. Is that what you're saying? Let me.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
found the trial results finally.
yeah.
As you were talking, can I? I'll chuck them on the screen because there's a few things I wanted to add to what you were saying. Because for those who are listening, the tests. Here we go.
Yep,
They're on the
here we go.
screen. So
There we are.
for whatever reason, it's got the date stamped across it. I don't know what's going on here, but you were
I don't know.
testing.
Yeah.
So you've got sea salt. Now this is the other thing about these brands. They use their brand name to make more products, but it's not literal sea salt. It's the sea salt branded soil. Then you got Scott's Performance, Vasili's, Garden Basics, and look, there's a whole bunch of them on there.
Premium, all-purpose, and goes on. Rich Grow, Scott's range. Scott's has got a huge range, and I don't understand why they have to have so many varieties anymore.
And I wonder what the
on.
actual difference is. Like, did you notice any difference in the actual soil, or do you think it's more the
Oh, there is
actual?
a slight difference. Some of them had wood pellet chips in them. Eh? Some of them had.
Hmm.
There was a slight difference in them, but not enough to say you need to justify that you need to have a tomato and herb
Yeah,
veg
yeah,
mix and
exactly.
a premium mix and a native mix, because nature doesn't work like that. I mean, the soils vary from place to place. Yeah, I know you got sand, silt, and clay and all things like that. But again, when it comes to using chemicals, obviously that's why you have a variety, because if these were all naturally based, they wouldn't have any chemicals in them. They wouldn't have so many varieties of them.
Yeah.
Our planting mix, you can plant whatever you want in it. Knock yourself out. Pick your favorites, whether it's veggies, flowers, or
Well,
succulents. It'll grow in it. That's all. But yeah, so that's the liquid trial that we're doing now.
I've
And that
pressed
one,
a silly button. I mean, I was going well there for a while there for silly, where I hadn't done a podcast where, here we go, got it back in. I hadn't had a
yeah,
podcast where I'd accidentally made a dumb mistake, but today's the day.
that's
Okay,
okay.
let me chuck this thing back up there. I was trying to get too fancy and zoom in, but I'm
That's
not just
okay.
on your Facebook page. There we go. I did it. I got rid of the silly date that was on top of it. I don't know how I caused that,
Oh
but
yeah.
we've got the results here from the
Yep.
tests, and
The test.
it's what's really interesting to me. There's a few things. Is that the pak choi, you had a very
Yeah.
high bricks rating, and then not
Yeah.
every
That's right.
plant had the same bricks rating in the same
No,
soil. They all changed and this and that. So like,
you
just
can
look at the
see.
top. So sea salt had
Yeah,
an
that's the
8 and
biggest.
8 for pak choi, and then
So,
2.5 for silver beet, and you had
so pak choi
9
being
for
the
pak
fastest
choi.
growing. Yeah, and
Right.
5. So so my take on that is the pak choi is one of the fastest growing, leafy greens, if not the
Yep.
fastest, and that's why its uptake is quite strong, and hence where the nutrients was taken up well, it results in that. But that's just the pak choi. If all the others, and if I'm not mistaken, all the others are low in the pak choi, so that tells you how poor the quality of the potting mixes are. So the sea salt would have some element of quality in it. I was expecting better from the rich grow. I honestly was. I was, because everybody was bragging about it, because I've never used it. They were
Yep.
bragging about the rich grow, and the other one was the Yates dynamic lifter one. I think it is the Yates one down the bottom, which
Yep.
was meant to be really good. And that one there outperformed me by 1 bricks count on the silver beet.
Yeah, it
Mind you,
did.
I was testing plants. Yeah, it did by 1. And the only thing I could say about my one is that the others that we were testing, because the pak choi wasn't eaten, but the other 3, the cos lettuce, the silver beet, and the lettuce were eaten by the sheep. So I had dribs left on the plant to do a test on. I didn't have the
Yep.
new growth. I had the bottom growth, and you could see how many dead plants were, prevalent. And the lettuce in particular, they're almost half of them had died off, which is
Did, yeah, that's the
quite
other thing. Some of them
astounding.
died. I'll tell you something why I want you to do this again in a year, Vasili, or a year or 2 or
Yeah,
something like that. Because
yeah,
I put out this is a completely different type of subject, but I put out a podcast very early on how because we do a lot of business orientated episodes for people in the industry, and I did an
yep,
episode on how much gardening businesses should charge and how much they actually charge. And if you look
yep,
online and you were to Google, this is how much businesses charge, right? It was saying, $40, $50, 45, 65. I then did a questionnaire where I asked businesses on a Facebook group, and we had 670 answers, and less than 1% charged less than $50 an hour, even though half the results were saying gardening businesses in Australia charge less than $50 an hour. The reality is you can't have sustainable business with all the expenses. Business. Now, what
no,
was really
totally, yeah.
interesting is I looked up that search again. I was doing some editing and I came across my old podcast. I was like, oh, I wonder what the research results are now. And one of the articles changed its results to
Change
match the average that we put out in our little podcast. So someone has found my
they're
podcast,
listening.
realized that
Yeah,
their
they're
numbers
listening.
were wrong, and they've changed it.
Yeah,
And I wonder if some of these businesses will realize
it will
that now that
change
they're
their
being
mix.
not
Caught
exposed,
out.
yeah, they're being tested and trialed.
Yeah,
They might take the bricks rating more seriously. And I wonder if they will change anything over the next year or so and they start
well,
making
one
a
would
better
hope so.
product.
One would hope so. One would really hope so, because at the end, I think most of these companies will put it down to the consumer's misuse of the product, and the lack of knowledge or understanding on how to maintain plants or grow plants, and point the finger at that. Well, I practice that lifestyle as well. I actually, not that I like doing it. It kills me. It pains me to do it, but I let my plants suffer. I don't feed them on time all the time because we're not all in that perfect environment in life where we can
Yeah,
be
of
there
course.
24/7 to take care and nurse everything. So, some plants don't get a feed where others do get too much feed. And I want to see what happens. We all do that. I know we're all known to overfeed, fertilize plants, and that's why our soils are running so acidic and things like that. So, I'll run a bed with acidic paste, and then I'll put my fertilizer in. Then I won't put a fertilizer in, and see what happens. So I think the companies will take, well, if they take me serious enough, and they think that I'm a force to be reckoned with, and I think they should, because you can't hide behind a wall of employees, because individually each one of those is just a common man, women who are just trying to make a quid out of it. And if they're doing it off the backs of people's sufferings and deceptions, then who else will come up and fight for it? Because I know all the other celebrities, they bend to the first dollar that falls in their laps. Why the networks don't like me? Because I push back. That's the honest truth. The TV networks say I'm too hard basket. I
That
don't take their shit for anything.
that comes back to what we
That's
said
how I roll.
before about. Sorry, that comes back to what we said before about the
Yeah,
beauty of YouTube and the internet and podcasts
yeah,
and
yeah. And people ask
independent
me.
voices being able to say what they because like a lot of these podcasts. What I keep trying to say to people is, if you want to support the podcast, and I don't know if you have something like this or whatever, but like for what we
Yeah,
do, the best way to support a podcast like this is Patreon, because it's very
yeah,
difficult to find brands. Like, let's say, I was talking to an equipment manufacturer last week, and
yeah.
they sort of mentioned the idea of sponsorship, and I mentioned
Mm,
to them that I'm not interested in doing an ambassadorship. And I said, look, maybe if you want to do a sale or something, we'll do something. But the problem is, if I become an ambassador, not that I was being offered, just to be clear, but I was just saying,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
the
yeah.
terms from the podcast is, if I say I will be an ambassador of this piece of equipment, the problem is
Mm,
I alienate everybody who uses a different type of equipment. And the reality is
mm.
that on a podcast, so let's say I have a hedging expert on next week and
You
they
got to
use
be,
a completely different brand. And I find it
yeah,
important to me to have on people who don't share exactly the same philosophies or exactly the same ideas, because if I only have people who agree with me, I will never learn, I'll
it's
never grow. And what's the point of having a podcast? So that's the thing. It's like,
exactly.
but the internet allows this type of content, because if we get 100 Patreons who pay $5 or $10 a month, they're paying a
Yeah,
dollar or two per podcast, which is, they're never going to
yeah,
notice that. You get 100 of them,
yeah.
you're now making enough money to sustain this, and then the information gets out. And now what you can do is you can afford to interview people who have really unique opinions, or especially like early budding opinions. Maybe they're just starting to work something out, and there isn't a whole lot of interest for a big TV show to show what they're doing. But that's what I love about this industry, because, or this little, what we're doing, podcasts, YouTube, your
Yeah,
videos, other creators out there who put stuff out there, because we have a passion for it and a love for it. And it's not about the money, right? Like,
no,
I've said this before on the podcast, just for the people, I'm talking to people who listen a lot, but it takes me all up maybe 5 to 10 hours just to do a podcast. I don't know how long it takes you to, like, when it comes to editing and releasing and all that sort of stuff and recording and organizing. You're doing a video every day. It doesn't take you 10 minutes to
yeah,
do a 10-minute video,
no,
right?
no,
And
it
if you
doesn't. It
if you
doesn't.
looked at your return on
It's just
investment, it's not I bet you it's not the biggest return on investment. You could just go out there and sell a couple more bags or put some energy into something. These are passion projects,
exactly.
you know, and that's
These
why the
are
big
these
brands
are.
won't
If I
do it, you know.
Well, this is why they're exposing. They're going to be exposed to that level, because if they don't want to come down this path with us and express it all, because look, if I go back, I'm passionate about what I do, and I've associated myself with products and that I think that are truly worthy of recognition and being used in the home garden.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going up against the big boys who got investors from all over the world, and I'm just little old me. I sell 10 bags today. That's what goes into my pocket, and I pay my home bills. We're always chasing the dollar still. We're not rolling in it. I drove a beaten up Ute, for argument's sake, for crying out loud.
Is that
You know,
because you got bad driving skills, or it's just old? It's
yeah,
brand
pretty.
new, but I've been crashing it every week.
It's 25 years old, by the way, and it's an F250, but it's an old six-cylinder, not a V8. It's got rusted tray on the back. The seats are torn inside, and the dogs sleep in there pretty much most times. So that's how I roll, and it's
You
full
bet
of
you feel
cobwebs too. So
sentimental about
I'm
it
not
as
very
well.
material. I'm not a materialistic person by any stretch.
Well, I
Well,
bet
you
you
know,
feel
it
real
gets me from A to
sentimental.
B, and I'm comfortable with it, and the dogs can ride with me without worrying about tearing the seats. Sorry?
I've got a 2009 Mitsubishi that has done so many things like a Ute, and it's got 300,000 Ks or close to 290 or something like that. And so I don't drive it much anymore. But I was
That's not
driving it
bad.
yesterday, and it was nostalgic. And I was like, man, I like it. I don't know. I've got
Yeah,
a fairly new work Ute that I drive now. Like it's about a year old, and
yeah,
it's got
yeah.
the big difference to me is my new Ute has cruise control and the air conditioning works every single time you turn it on. Okay, like the other Ute, the
I
air
got no cruise
conditioning will
control.
work.
I got no air conditioning, no cruise control.
But I'm like,
And
man, there's
what
this
else is there?
nostalgic feel
Not
about
even
my old
electric
Ute.
windows.
Oh no, okay. My Ute's got electric windows. The
Yeah,
my
and I've got a
the
bench seat at the
Bluetooth in
front.
my old Youth. If you call, I don't know why. I put a new
I don't
Bluetooth
even have a
thing.
radio.
Hey, what? So
Don't even have a radio in it. So
these headphones are Bluetooth headphones, and in my old Ute before I got a new one, the if I put my Bluetooth the head unit on, if anybody called me, I don't know why, but it would answer it immediately. So I don't even. I'm just
oh,
driving, and I might be talking to
and
somebody, and
someone's
it go
talking.
ring answer, and I was like, I what? I'm on the phone now. I don't even know who
I don't
you
want to
are.
talk to you.
I had no idea who's called. Everyone's like, oh, that was quick. You answered. I'm sorry. I don't know. Anyway, so if I got rid of all those problems, which I probably could have, I
Yeah,
don't know. There's something about those
yeah.
old Utes that's completely sidetracked. Can we go back to your
That's okay.
to the
I'm
liquid
loving it.
trial? We go back
Yeah.
to the liquid trial because what I'm really interested in now is I want to see because my gut feel is with the lick because you're in cocoa pith, the seaweed only products are not, in my opinion, going to have the
They're
highest rating
not going to
because
have
the
the
cocoa pith doesn't have much in it to start with. What are
no, it
your
doesn't. It's just
predictions before we get the results out? What are your predictions on
okay.
what will and won't work?
Okay, so the first thing that I'm just going to put as far as the trial again, it'll be similar to that of the potty mix. Um, the thing that we got to keep in mind is don't expect the fastest growing to be the best. That's a false sense of security as far as the quality of the produce you get out of it. Like the potty mix,
Yep.
some of them grow faster than others, but they were the lowest in bricks count. So that is the result of chemical induced. So you'll have the same result with the bricks test or the growth rate, even in the cocoa pith. Some plants will grow quicker than others, but um, it'll be in the count again at the end. I can't do a chemical analysis on every of those products, and I'm happy to reach out to each of these companies, but I can pretty much tell you I'll be talking to closed doors. They won't want to reveal anything with me because I'm not here to pat them on the back. So my take is that the seaweed solutions will not be as good, yes, as far as by comparison to other liquid fertilizers like 5-in-1 and the bioguano stuff and things like that. But the little secret here is that the trials have already been done, not by me, but my team of experts. They haven't given me the results.
Okay.
They've done it already months ago, and they continuously do trials every quarter on all the brands. They pull these things apart. And I'm not ready to reveal on what's going on with some of these brands, and I haven't been given all the data yet. But the time will come, and I'll break it down to basic language for people to understand. But there's we've got nicknames for a lot of these products. Oh, well, I don't. They do, and they've shared it with me. And I'm like, what? I can't. I couldn't do that. Possibly call it a nickname because it's
No,
insulting
that's a
names.
personal thing.
But that's their take on it.
We
Yeah, it's a personal, closed doors. But that's all good to them. And I said, well, I'm sure you got one for my ones as well. But putting that aside, they looked at me and they just chuckled. They said, "You got no problems, nothing to worry about." I go, "What do you mean?" Because we've done these trials. Because I was telling them that I was going to do the trials. They never revealed this to me because this is what they do in the R&D side of
Yes.
things.
Yep.
And they come back with information on what we want to do. But I don't ask for the data on that. I take their word for it because these are down to earth people, and they bet the same and they sing the same songs as I do. So, but because I said I'm doing the trials, they've come around and said, "Oh, you know what? We've already done the trials. Colin's already done the trials." I go, "Has he?" I go, "What did he try it?" He goes, "Just get the shittest of potty mixes you can find out there. Get the cheapest of the cheapest of the cheapest, and just shove them in there." That's what he's done, and that's how he does it. And he's done all the trials. He goes, because he's got to stand behind his own brand, or in this case, his own product, um, to ensure that it stands up and stacks up. Okay, I go. So what's your take on the range? I go to him. He goes, "Well, mate, just run your products at half strength." He goes, "Run your products at half strength. You don't need full strength. At half strength, you'll just outgrow them all. I mean, in nutritional density and quality of plant life." So really, I go in cocoa pith. He goes, "I don't know about cocoa. They haven't done cocoa." I said, "Oh, I'm going to start in cocoa." And yesterday, I purchased more seedlings. I didn't grow them. I'm just buying them because that's what everybody does. And I'm going to use the shit of the shittest potting mix that I've got from the last trial, which is the Garden Basics, the cheapest ones. And I'm going to
Yeah,
blend all
where
four or
half
three
the
or four bags
plants
together.
died. The Garden Basics ones,
Yeah,
for those who
exactly.
weren't seeing the results on the
Yeah,
screen, there's three. I think there was three
yeah,
Garden Basics, and two of
yeah,
them,
that's
half
right.
of the plants died. So it's not exactly
If
what
not
you
more,
would.
I think only this. Yeah, yeah.
No, I've got it in front of
I think it
me.
was only the silver bee.
The Garden
Yeah,
Basics Premium, Pak Choi,
yeah,
was fine, but the
yeah,
silver beet and the lettuce died, and the cos lettuce.
yeah.
I mean, Pak Choi had pretty high readings across the rate, but it was 5 on the brick scale, and Craig reckons
Yeah.
12 is really good. Like 12 and above is
12
is
is 12 is the optimum number you want for resilience against pests and diseases,
so. So
because plants can't digest.
your ones are a little bit higher than this, or a lot higher depending on which brand you're comparing it
Yeah,
to.
but mine was below 12, and admittedly, yeah, that would nothing hit 12 there. But if you're watching more recent stuff, and you'll see my cabbage and my broccolis. I mean, I've grown cabbage a long time for lots of years. I mean, these are some of the biggest cabbages I've ever grown, and I put it down to the fact that I'm not tilling the soil anymore, and I'm just adding more organic stuff, our products, our superfood, and that. And these, I kid you not, I'm going to run a tape on it because this cabbage is standing from outer edge of leaf to outer edge of leaf. It's probably about 1.3 meters in diameter. Now,
Gee,
when I planted these plants, yeah, I planted them side by side, and I said about 60, 80 centimeters apart. These are, I'm anticipating these are going to grow good, but I was, taking the piss out of myself at the same time. And my son's going to be, "Dad, too many gaps in between." I said, "No, you wait. If I plant in between, the cabbages will cast the sunlight out of them, and they'll never see sun, and they'll never grow." And sure enough, that's what's happened. I mean, they're huge, and their heads are only starting to form. They're already about the size of my head, and they haven't even formed yet. So I reckon they're going to be, I don't know, at least. Look, I'm not going to put a number to it. We'll just wait to see because they're nowhere near ready. They've been in the ground. They should have been out of the ground by now. So there's another story to talk about in the environment and weather. That's another high side note there. But the plants are really slow to take off. So back to the trial. I'm going to do the ship potty mix trial with the same liquid fertilizers. And admittedly, because I started early in the season, we had some frost nights again. And again, last night down to 2 degrees, or the night before, the tomatoes are not faring well at all because of the cold. All but a couple of the planters. And what I say there, a couple of the plants trials that I'm doing are the ones that I'm doing the double blend, which is our liquid gold and eco butch combined, half strength. I think the sea soil and power feed one is holding off. Okay. And there's one other one that's sort of faring okay. The Eco Butch is doing well. The Liquid Gold, the seaweed solutions on their own, like you said, they're sort of struggling. I mean, they'll kick into gear, but they haven't got any other biological stimulants going in there. So you're right on the mark there with the seaweeds. But the double pack, the seaweed and our Eco Butch, which is blood bone meal certified again, not just organic, it's actually certified because it's sourced from proper farms and where the animals are actually free to roam, not in cages. Um, that that stuff combined is just a powerhouse. So I reckon I'm putting my money on my product, obviously, but then next to that, I reckon the bioguano maybe. Um, I don't like nitrosol. I don't like Charlie Carp. Sea salt only because I've got history with them. I'd like to think they're going to succeed as well. There's a couple of other ones I just can't remember the names, but there'll be two or three that'll come up pretty good, but most of them will fail.
Well, I
Um,
just love the whole idea of that, because in the ornamental side of gardening, it's all
yeah,
about the eye test. And if you just took your
yeah,
eye test to the edible side of gardening, are you actually, because really, I mean, the edible side of gardening is about taste and then nutrition as well, like together. But you can have a beautiful red, massive tomato, tastes like water and has
yeah,
no nutrition. Whereas you might have
yeah,
a small little, looks like a bit of a runt, but if it tastes
yeah.
brilliant and the nutrition is through the roof,
It's
so
a powerhouse. Yeah, powerhouse of value of nutrients. I I can't eat tomatoes. I've said it already. I just can't eat out of season. It's one thing I grew up doing. You hear the occasion if you're going out somewhere that there's a salad there, you'll get your cucumber tomato in it. But I did a show with the tomato growers. The biggest tomato grower in Australia years ago, right? And I haven't told you this one. Um, this one for your audience, quick one. So we did a tomato show growing, where he grows this humble tomato. He calls it a humble tomato. And he goes, he hasn't changed his methods since the 60s when he first started. And this guy, I mean, he shits tomatoes out of his ass when it comes to money. Um, and tons of it a day.
yep,
So the one tomato is the typical one you get at your local supermarket.
yep,
Um, that you can bounce on the bloody floor and hit it with a tennis racket and it won't split open because it travels well, it stores well,
yeah,
it's got longevity.
yeah,
And that's the words he said. And I said, it's firm. He goes, it's firm. It's firm. You can hold it and grip it. It won't splatter. So it's got this thick rind on it, right? It's a leather jacket. And inside there's a little couple of chambers with a bit of pulp in it. And you call it a tomato. And he's given it's got a digit name, digit and A6152-4, whatever it is. Yeah, well, it's not a Grossless or a Mighty Red or anything. So they grow that, and they've got 24, I think it is, or something like that, 24 different categories for this tomato, ranging from quality A, B,
oh,
C,
okay,
D,
yeah, I know what you mean. Yep,
small, medium, large. Yep, small, medium, large, fully ripe, semi-ripe, medium ripe, green.
yep.
So they get harvested once. Uh, it's indiscretional as far as what tomato is being picked when. It just picks them all at once pretty much, or close to it. I mean, they've got pickers there, but what they do is they pick some semi-green ones and they ship them, they gas them up in the truck and they ripen on the way to Queensland. And the fully ripe ones go to the closest supermarket store. So they're not in storage for months on end, but they're in storage for certainly, well, in this time of the year, for a couple of weeks at least. I mean, like all vegetables, they do lose their nutritional density once they're in
Yeah,
storage.
yeah,
So you want to harvest and eat within a few minutes. So the moral to this story is no, there's no moral yet. Let me get to the part. A goes to the supermarkets. B's go to the trade
yep.
stores or the markets, the greengrocers. C's will go to the cows, right? Whether the red or greens, they'll go to the cows. And D, well, he stopped on D and I said, "What's going on with D?" He goes, "Well, I can't tell you on there. Turn your camera off." I
Oh,
go, "Turn my camera off? Why?" He goes, "Oh, no, I'm not sure if we're allowed to say this." I said, "Well, look, the camera's off. Now, we've got a little red light, as you know, the cameras when they're on and active. Well, our red light's been switched off purposely because, I like going in the cover of darkness and scaring the shit out of everyone. And if they see a camera with a red light on, they freak out. So it's always been off. But that morning we were at the bakery. Um, just a side note here, we were at the bakery early morning and we were greeted by him to be picked up and go to the farm. And my cameraman then was eating a pie.
yeah,
And the guy walks in, the guy who's meeting us there. It's actually, I think it was Joe or Frank. No, it was Frank. That's right. Frank comes up to us. He's not the owner, he's the neighbour. He grows the cherry tomatoes you find in the supermarket, the little cherry grape ones. He goes, "What are you eating there?" And Peter goes, "A pie." He goes, "What's that on your pie?" He goes, "Meat, tomato sauce." He goes, he chuckles. He goes, "Mate, if I was you, I wouldn't be putting that on your pie." He goes, "What do you mean? You can't have a meat pie without tomato sauce." He goes, "You'll find out soon enough." Anyway, back to the story.
yeah,
The grade D tomatoes. So we're out there in the factory looking in the distance, little stockpiles of tomatoes, and we knew they were the rotten ones, the ones that have gone off and not going anywhere. The cows won't eat them. They won't compost them. He goes, "It's not worth ploughing them back into anything, so we're just going to ship them off." And I go, "What are you shipping them to?" He goes, "Well, truck, and as we're talking, the truck's turned up, and it's getting loaded up with all these tomatoes. And on top of those tomato piles, it looked like a cloud, mate, but it was a cloud of blowflies and
Yeah.
whatever
Yep. Yep.
creature that can fly. Yeah. And these tomatoes are going to SPC to be made into tomato sauce. I said, what about the maggots and all that? He goes, well, they go into the vat as well, and they heat them up, they boil them up to whatever degrees it is, they disintegrate. It turns into a mucky brown grey colour, so they start adding the colouring and the flavouring and the sugars and the preservatives, and voila, you have tomato sauce. So technically it's tomato base, but it's anything but tomato flavour, original tomato flavour, especially those ones that are F1 hybrids or genetically modified, more so the genetically modified variety. So that's your tomato sauce of today's world, and that's what Frankie was referring to. Because, mate, if you're not making it yourself or growing it yourself and cooking it yourself, don't be eating it, mate. You just don't know what you're eating.
When was the last time that you actually bought food from a supermarket?
For me,
Yeah.
got my daughter here looking at me. When was the last time I bought food for me from a supermarket? Yeah, she can't even think. Yeah. I go and buy chicken necks, drumsticks, and I try and get them. And and it's a play of words. Again, even if it says organic, if you can't source and track the source of the grower or whoever's produced it,
Yep.
and research exactly what they're doing, because you've got farmers markets who claim to be organic and they're far from it, right? They grow something that's organic because it's a vegetable, it's an organic being, living thing, but it's treated inorganically. So for me, the last time I bought something from the supermarket to eat, as a meal or something, to make a meal, mate, I haven't. I can't remember. I buy for the kids, not for the kids, for the dogs, and maybe my family will buy something out of the supermarket to make it themselves, but not me, mate. The kids know very well how I feel about that, and I can't eat the shit from the supermarket. I can't stand it. Full stop. I can't stand it. I loathe the fact that they do it. I mean, one more story for you, a quick one. A mate of mine who picks up for a big dip company, Australia wide. They manufacture dips for little
Yeah. Yeah.
bullshit
Yep.
containers that they put them in. Yeah, he's been doing this for 2, 3 decades now. He picks up spinach,
Yep.
spring onions, and
Yep.
mint as well, and that's part of the ingredients that they put into it. So he takes them from the Footscray market, which is obviously the B grade, C grade, and monoculture gardening. So they're already being induced with all the worst chemicals in the world. And you know that spinach is in the top 30 dozen of vegetables to eat, meaning they're heavily lathed with chemicals or laced with chemicals.
Right.
Con picks him up. That's his name, Con. He picks him up for years ago, and of recent times, and I'm talking about 5 years ago. When I was more than 5 years ago, I went to visit him at his factory where he does the processing, and his processing back then was a mechanical process. You take the spring onions, you top and tail them, so you take the tops off
Mhm.
and the tails off, and you're left with a bit in between, and packs them into a deck. And the spinach, he just cleans them up, ruffles through the crap if there's any in there, because they're in boxes, and he puts them in slabs, so they're all pre-weighed. So they go straight to the factory, straight onto the conveyor, and off they go. Well, the regulations have changed because they don't want to see any microbiology or microbiome
Oh, gee.
or
Yep.
microbial activity, rather, on these vegetables, because nature has its own use by date on anything that it produces in the garden that you harvest from. If you haven't eaten your corn within a couple of hours, its nutritional density is dead because the microbial count drops and blah blah blah.
Yep.
And if you don't eat the apple in a certain time, it'll rot within a few days because the microbes kick in and take over. So that's nature's own use by date on that fruit. And the only way you're going to learn about that is by growing it and harvesting it yourself and realizing what your time frame is to eat. Well, the problem with these monoculture is that the use by date is a little bit longer because they've already been treated, but it's still not enough for these fellas because these bright little sparks think, oh, we need to do a bit more. We don't want any of this, because it's mechanically handled by human, missing any little bits and pieces out of these vegetables, be it a spring onion or even mint. So what do? Well, we need to now treat them one more time before it comes to the factory, and that is by ways of setting up big bins of liquid chemicals and dunking every batch of spring onions and spring spinach into this toxin systemic chemical. Con has to wear a full PPE suit to do this because it stinks to the high heavens. I don't know how he's still alive. I mean, he doesn't know any better now. He goes, I don't know what else to do. This is all I've done for 30 years. Now I've got to treat all this stuff. So when it comes out, there's no microbe life left in this
Yep.
vegetable. It just looks like a spring onion, but it's anything bar a spring onion. There's no nutritional value. You may get a little bit of flavour, but they use that in the spring onion salt that they add into it. So the spring onion is the colouring, because you get those little bits and pieces in the dip, and it looks like, oh, look, there's spring onion in here. Yeah, there is. But then they add all the artificial flavouring to make it taste like spring onion dip. So that's another example of what's happening to our food. It's getting treated heavily laced before it reaches the supermarket shelf, especially the lettuce. They spray it before they pick it, so it's got 28 days withholding on it, or before they. No, let me take that back. The seedling growers, because I did a filming there, and they were so proud as punch telling me how they lace them with Confidor, which is now banned, carcinogenic, and back then they were singing the praises. Yeah, no, we spray it with Confidor, and it goes into the farmland. And it's 48-day withholding period, and the lettuce is harvested within 28 days or 30 days. Right? So I go, no. So it was 28-day withholding period, and the lettuce is harvested within 40 days. Because I asked the question, aren't you concerned about any residual, insecticide? He goes, no, it's gone. It's gone by its withholding period. I go, yeah, but that's in winter, mate. In spring, summer, you're picking lettuce in 3 weeks from the day you planted, especially the growers. They bolt out of the ground and you got them growing. So what's the chances of having any, this carcinogenic chemical still in the plant when you're harvesting or the farmer's harvesting it? Because they're doing it to save the farmer the headache of having to spray it. We do all the hard work for them. All they got to do is put it
Yep.
on the back of their plug machine, sticks it in the ground. They pick it, send it to the supermarket. You eat it. You're induced. You killed your microbiome out in your guts, and then you run to the doctors for pills.
Yeah,
Done
yeah.
with it, mate.
Well, here's the thing that I'm thinking as you're saying that. Like, let's transition a little bit to now. You've got a lot of videos on this stuff, but people I think are listening to this
Yeah.
go, okay, they might be interested in okay, I want to grow my own food now, and you've got heaps of stuff. But what are you doing when you're getting pests on, let's say, lettuce, right? Are you well? There's a few sides to this. Like, let me share you some of the things that I think. One, when you let's say we grow tomato, right? What's a common thing that people grow tomatoes? They get 4 tomato plants, they put them in the ground, and then 3 months later, or it's not that long, but whenever they grow, they have way too many tomatoes they can never use. But then they always get really upset about the 7 of them that have a bug in it. And you're like, well, did you really need those 7 anyway? Like, let's just start with that. You're often growing more food than you actually need. So losing a couple of leaves every now and then is not the end of the world. But a lot of people come into it and they don't know. They look at it, okay, there's caterpillars there, and they're completely clueless on how do I even get rid of, like, how can I start to do this? Because all they know is the chemical side. So what sort of things are you doing at your property to prevent these pests or to control the pests?
Apart from snails and slugs and birds, even caterpillars, no, well, not caterpillars in that category, but snails and slugs mainly to start with. And young seedlings, when you first plant them, you do a cloche. You create a cloche, which is basically a drink bottle like this. You cut the bottom and the top off of the little seedling, and it becomes a little, funnel or pipe.
Yep.
You slide it over the top, or you leave the top on there. You cut the bottom off, set it over your seedling. There's 90% of your problem gone there in stopping the pest getting into them. And as the plants start to grow and start to produce produce, you'll find that the better the plant health is, and we spoke about this earlier with the bricks count, the less likelihood of having caterpillars getting into your tomatoes. And I didn't have any caterpillars in my tomatoes. In fact, if I did, I probably missed and ate it. But no, I didn't have any caterpillars because the bricks count is high. The tomatoes are healthy. The butterflies will lay their eggs and they'll eat some of the tomato leaves, but very few. If one tomato, if I had one, let's just say I did one, cut the bloody thing out. It's not going to kill you. You're better off cutting it out, losing half a tomato, than spraying the shit out of it and being stuck with the residual of that chemical in your body. If you're going down the chemical world, or otherwise, if you want to go natural organic, whatever's in your bloody kitchen pantry, mate, grab it out of there. Whether it's chili powder, garlic powder, if you've got your own, you can make your own preferably. Turmeric powder, olive oil, dishwashing liquid. Now, dishwashing liquid, get the cheapest of brands, which is purely a potassium-based soap, fat that will have no additional, flavorings, let's call it, or coloring in it,
Mm-hmm.
or any other crap. Because the more you pay for dishwashing, the more elaborate and intricate the mixture is. The simpler it is, the cheaper it is, and the better it is for your garden. So a simple dishwashing or even velvet soap, the yellow bar soap, it's basically fat. Scratch some of that out, grate some of that out and dilute it in water and put a tablespoon of olive oil in there as well and spray that on your plants. That's your insecticide. It's just a protectant. It's not going to be the bee's dick of killing off pests, but it will certainly deter them. And if you're working on the soil, building the bricks level and the microbial life in the soil, the biome, while you're doing that, you're protecting your plants with any sort of adverse effects. You're going to win. You're not going to lose, and it's less effort. Now I don't spray. In fact, I don't. Apart from my seedling tomatoes, which got hit with something, I don't know what it is. My seedling tomatoes, but everything else in the garden. Early days, a couple of eaten leaves from the caterpillars. Now, mate, that can't get anywhere near those plants because they're just too rich in nutrients. The chickens come in, the birds come in, they'll peck at the leaves. The pak choi's been eaten by the bloody birds. That's it. I can't stop that. I can net it, but that's it. So make it out of your kitchen pantry. There's a shitload of that sort of stuff online from anyone you can research. I've been doing it forever and a day talking about it. Bicarb soda, for example, is your fungicide. Bicarbonate of soda, basically, a teaspoon of that in a liter of water, you're oxygenating. Bad bacteria, like fungi in that, I should say, lives in an inert environment. There's no airflow, so it's suffocating. There's plants suffocating, and the bad bacteria kicks in. Oxygenating with a spray like that, you're knocking out those bloody spores and bringing them to life. So bicarb soda, oil from your kitchen pantry with a few spicy flavorings into it, and a bit of dishwashing liquid is all you need, and then work on the soil. The only other thing I use is a bluestone fungicide, which is not a fungicide, but it's classed as that, but it's quite acidic and that can cause a little bit of burning. So use that sparingly if you need to. And sulfur, but I don't use them really. I don't spray. The only thing I spray, I sound like a broken record here, talking about it, or hypocritical, is my peach tree for leaf curl. That's the toughest one I had, and I haven't tried to its fullest capacity and test with tea bags and tea, the tea leaves. Apparently, that's meant to work. You can mix that, or even just weak tea, spray that on the branches in the middle of winter, or even bicarb soda. So I've only gone down the path of bluestone because I had to resurrect this tree from the dead when we bought this house. And in the last 2 or 3 years, I've gone from a tree that was going to be chopped out to flourishing and giving me bags full of peaches. And that's just the bluestone and our superfood and compost and black root, mate. So it doesn't have to be difficult,
There's
and
solutions.
that's the point.
Yeah. So
there are solutions, and they're simple solutions, and the best one is to build your soil health, and plants will look after themselves.
Can we go a little bit? I don't know how you're going for time here because the audience will keep listening. But have you? I don't think
I was just looking.
What, you got any commitments coming
2:40. I'll put another 5 minutes, mate, if that's okay.
Well, let's
or 10 minutes max.
Let's touch on real quickly the business side of things before we head off, because you've been running these garden centers. How many do you have of these garden centers now, and what's that like? Do you consider yourself a bit of a business person, or is it more just a passion for No, because
I'm heart driven, mate. I'm passionate and heart driven. I make irrational decisions when it comes to building the business model. I've sold my retail arm. I'm not in that anymore. We are outlets. We have click and collect distribution centres, and we're growing into states. So we're supporting all the independent garden centres. We're giving them all the opportunity to carry our range, and we back them up with marketing of our own. So we're not asking them to dip into their pocket for advertising. We just support them and point people in their direction who live in their township or vicinity. We also do workshops at the garden centres too. So I go out there and just preach to the converted, I suppose, but they want to hear it again. So my business model was a retail garden centre. We sold it 7 years ago to get out into the sticks, treescape. And we said, we'll dip our toe into wholesaling a little bit and see what it's like. From selling one product with, I don't know what it is now, how many products we have, but from one store, we're supplying 150 stores or something like that across the states, and they're not all, big buyers, but they still are, supporting of a product, and we're growing with them. And they, the education side is what's lacking with them too, because they all fall into the same trap in realms of the big chain stores or the big manufacturers. And it's easy to sell, convenient, just on the shelf, it sells itself. So, I'm competing against existing, household names out there. But in respect to my name, the brand itself, Vasilis, it's a brand for the TV world and all that stuff. So only in the last 4 years, I've really associated myself with a product or a range of products. And it's not going to grow much more than that. I don't think so. But it's just going to take another couple of years before we, watch this space and people get sick and tired of being bullshitted to. I mean, I'm just going to say it as it is. And I put it out there. I said, if anybody wants to challenge me on it on a decent discussion, debate, with the science behind it, by all means, prove me wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'll eat humble pie. But if I'm right, what are you going to do about it? No one's come to the party yet, so I'm not here to challenge it. But if anybody wants to talk shit about me and call it, well, you want to put science behind it as well, not just your mouth. Because I mean, we've all got a big mouth, and I can, those who know me well, I can give it to them just as well as they can give it back. I can give it back. So,
Well,
my business model is.
I was gonna say,
Hey,
I love that the internet's allowed that. I love that we can hear those voices, and that for you, like, because that's the thing, like your main interest, like you just said, you're driven from the heart. You're not driven from a financial incentive. I can definitely sense there's a frustration in you that the industry and many industries become entirely about the profit margin over the result, or over especially the long-term result. So I find it fascinating. Now, look, let's wrap this up. But I got one question for you, unless you had something else you wanted to say. Otherwise, let's be honest. If we don't put an end time on this, we won't last. Like we'll never finish this.
No, I know.
It'll be a 6-hour episode. We're already at 2 hours, by the way.
I'm happy to come back again. I know it's just gone so quick. Simple for me to say is that the system is not broken. It's working perfectly for them. And we're talking about the big boys or, just the big companies. It's working perfectly well for them. What we're doing is testing the system now, actively testing it and with some accountability on their behalf and just see where it goes.
Well, I've got one more question for you. And look, what I love about these podcasts is I always prepare and I have a list of like questions, and usually on a normal podcast, like I have to refer to my list. I haven't looked at it once in this entire episode. I mean, we covered a lot of them naturally, but just before we go, the one question is, because I think there'll be a lot of people who love what you're doing who may have just heard of you. What is, because they want to support, maybe they want to try out, like jump on Vasili's YouTube, because like we said, there's so much stuff on there. It's Vasili's Garden, isn't it? Your YouTube thing. Just type in Vasili. You've got such a unique name, like no one else, honestly, But what I love,
I dare you to come against me with the same name.
and your last name is Kanidiadis or something.
Kanidiadis.
I was going to say it's like it's so many syllables. I've never seen the last name, but I've never seen the first name before. I'm sure there's other people out there, but look, what is the best thing or your favorite thing that you sell that gets you the best results or the best feedback? The thing that, so if someone's listening to this and they're like, okay, I'd love to support him, I'd love to try out, I'm getting this stuff. What's the best thing on your website?
Okay, our flagship product is our black grit.
What's black grit? That was
the first thing we brought out. Rock phosphate. It's a rock phosphate magnesium silicate. So it's a non-soluble rock, unlike the soluble forms that they sell out there. So it's a phosphate rock with a high level of calcium silicate, and I'll explain briefly what they mean. So phosphate is something that people fear using in native gardens because of the ability of killing plants quite easily, native plants that is. Natives don't like phosphate, but the reality is phosphate exists in our soils already. It's up to the plant communication with the microbes whether it needs phosphate or takes it up or not. So when we tamper with it, well, when you feed it to a plant like the synthetic form, you'll kill it. It'll burn it because it doesn't need it, doesn't want it. But our rock phosphate is non-soluble, and the only way it's digested is by the microbial count in the soil. So if your soil's alive and active, it'll digest that and it'll reduce the acidity levels and then unlock all the other macronutrients and micronutrients, in fact, which the plants will take up. So what happens, imagine this world, you've got a plant growing in the ground, you've been feeding with all the crap in the world, so the plant's disconnected from the life in the soil, it doesn't know how to communicate. It's been like a baby, you've grown it up by spoon feeding it, it doesn't know how to feed itself. And it's got to learn and go out into the real world and start fetching and fending for itself. Spoil kids with the silver spoons environment. So that's what happens with the plants, and they become very deficient, mineral deficient, and they become quite susceptible to infection. So the black grit comes along, you put that into the soil, and that unlocks that, and it's a conduit between the plant and the microbes in the soil and whatever crap's going in there. So it's a soil amendment / fertilizer. It will release calcium silicate, so it strengthens the cells walls of the plants that makes it stronger, more resilient against pest, disease, and insect attack. But it also trucks all the minerals in the soil that otherwise get locked up to the plant. So it's the carrier. It's a carrier of minerals as well as its own calcium silicate. So you got shit in your soil and it's gone crap and it's not growing well. You throw this stuff around, it'll just change it overnight. Plants will start blooming like never before, and the list goes on. I've used it on natives, and they're thriving. It doesn't burn them because it's non-soluble. Well, the soluble form, because it's made with sulfuric acid, as soon as you add water to it, it leaches into the soil and runs into your waterways. Your plants drink it up because they have to, because it's moist, and they burn. And they burn, and they die. And that's why people freak out with phosphates. I mean, this is my little take on it, but that's my flagship product. I mean, and I tell you, a close second to that as a dry product fertilizer is our superfood. I've used superfood I've been on it for the last year and a half, 2 years, I should say, but it's been in the making for a number of years. And the little geek that I'm working with, he's an amazing fella, young fella, and it's a frass which is made from soldier fly insects, the larvae. They die. What we're doing is making a circular economy. Is that what they call it? I don't know. Sustainable fertilizer, which means we take all the unprocessed bread from Baker's Delight and other big companies. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of tons per year go to waste, landfill. They don't use it because they overmake. I mean, the supermarkets force the farmers to produce more than they can and than they need, and most of it gets thrown out. 30% goes to waste.
Yeah.
They're throwing out every day. The farmers down here who've got herds of sheep, they're at the supermarket every day with bin loads loading up their utes, taking all the waste products to feed their farm animals. I mean, I'm seeing the crap that goes on there. But so the superfood is one of those where we take all that produce that doesn't get sold, not from the waste curbside bin that's full of, fucking toxins and crap and all that stuff, but straight produce that may be monoculturally grown or treated. Yes, we get that. But the surprising thing about this is these little larvae, they digest all that crap that's in there, all those toxins and metals, heavy metals, and you're left with a product that is just gold. I should call it super gold or something, but I've called it superfood because it's the organic product that we have, and it goes on everything. And the black grit is our rock mineral that we have that balances everything out. So between those two, you'll never fail. You cannot fail. If you fail, it's you forgot to water the plant, or somebody's eaten it, or the sheep's come in and destroyed it. So that's pretty much it, mate.
All right, well, we better wrap this up. Like I said, otherwise, neither of us will ever leave this podcast. But look, I want to say I've got some things that if you haven't started your cheap potty mix liquid trial yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
No, I want to send you some stuff that is not.
Send me some stuff.
I'll send you some stuff that's not. It's like a commercial product. It's not on Bunnings shelves, and I'm really curious because it's not a typical fertilizer. So I'm really interested. I'll send you some of that. I'm curious to see what the results are. Just like like it's where it's good about or whatever.
No, I'm up for it.
So and
I'm going to keep doing this forever.
I know. And look, I'm so keen on all that sort of stuff you're doing. Thanks for all your videos. People, jump on there if you're wanting to learn about all this sort of stuff. I feel like what this has unleashed in Vasili is on your videos, you are so much better at, not better, that's not the right word. You're so concise and presenter mode and all that sort of stuff. And we got Vasili's long format, which I love. So I love it. That's it was a great podcast, man.
I could have kept it short. Yeah, no, you're welcome.
I didn't want
Thank
to.
you. If I did drag out some of the Well, anytime again, mate. Anytime you like. And thank you for the support and thanks for the opportunity. Check out our YouTube channel and any other platform we're on, or vasilisgarden.com. And we look to see you guys growing your produce better for yourself.
All right. Thanks. See you guys.